If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 26, Awakening and Revelations. In the serene sanctuary of Cordelia Foley's cottage, nestled among the mystical mountains of northern England, Harry Potter slept soundly. The warm morning light filtered through the windows, casting a comforting glow across the room where Harry lay, his breathing steady and deep. The injuries that had once marred his small body were now healing, thanks to Cordelia's skilled magical interventions. The cottage, a haven of knowledge and healing, was alive with the sounds of bubbling cauldrons and the rustling of potion ingredients. Cordelia, her auburn curls now streaked with silver, moved about with a grace that defied her age. Each step and gesture spoke of her deep connection to the magical world and her mastery over the healing arts. As she prepared a potion, her thoughts were on Harry. She pondered the challenges he would face in recovering not just physically, but also emotionally from the traumas of his past. The child had been subjected to much, and Cordelia was determined to provide a nurturing environment for his recovery. Myra, the loyal house elf, watched over Harry with a mix of concern and admiration. Her devotion to the young wizard was evident in her every action. She had been instrumental in bringing Harry to Cordelia, and she now took her role as her master's protector very seriously. "Myra, how is he doing this morning?" Cordelia asked, her voice gentle yet carrying an undercurrent of strength. "Master Harry is much better, Mistress Foley," Myra replied, her eyes shining with relief. "Master Harry sleeps peacefully, and his magic is stronger today." Cordelia nodded, satisfied. "Good. Let him rest. Healing is as much about the mind as it is about the body. He needs time to recover fully." A day and a half later, Harry Potter awoke in an unfamiliar place that resembled a hospital room. As consciousness returned, a flood of memories overwhelmed him. It was confusing, as if he had been reborn as Harry Potter 2 times. He remembered his life before, his rebirth as Harry Potter, the days at Hogwarts with his younger brother Charles, and the stark shift to living with the Dursleys. The stark contrast of his experiences, culminating in the recent car accident, painted a vivid picture of his tumultuous journey. The recollection of the car accident and his subsequent rescue brought a rush of emotions. Harry felt a wave of frustration and anger wash over him. He was angry at himself for being too trusting, for seeing Dumbledore as a decent person despite all the negative things he'd read about him in various fan fiction. He knew for sure that Dumbledore was behind this and had thought even he would not stoop to the level of separating a child from his parents. He decided to trust his instincts and the character assessments from those stories more in the future. But Harry's disappointment wasn't just with Dumbledore. Realizing that his own parents had agreed to send him to the Dursleys, and then ignored him, made Harry feel deeply betrayed. He had expected better from them, given their intelligence. He made a solemn vow never to forgive them, a decision that irrevocably altered his perception of family bonds. Yet, Harry didn't feel any anger towards his younger brother, Charles. He knew Charles, still a baby, wasn't to blame for the decisions that changed Harry's life so much. But their brotherly bond was lost. Harry saw Charles as a stranger now, and at best, they might become friends if Harry liked who Charles became. Harry didn't envy Charles for getting all their parents' love. He didn't even want their love in the first place. He could have lived with being ignored, but being sent to the Dursleys while having his memories erased just to keep him there was something he couldn't forgive. Remembering his time as a servant at the Dursleys and the bullying at school made Harry's decision firm. The suffering he had gone through made it impossible for him to forgive his parents or anyone else involved in sending him there. As Harry contemplated the lost years and opportunities, Myra, his loyal house elf, entered the room. Her joy at seeing him awake was palpable. "Myra is so happy to see Master Harry awake," she exclaimed with a bounce. Harry, seeing Myra, felt a wave of gratitude. He was sure she played a big part in getting him out of trouble. He was very thankful for his decision to form an elf bond with Myra that day. He did not know what could have happened otherwise. He said, "It's because of you I'm alive, Myra. I owe you my life. How can I ever thank you?" Myra's response was simple and heartfelt. "Myra is just happy Master Harry is well. Madame Cordelia Foley saved you, not Myra." Cordelia entered the room just then, her presence bringing a calming aura. Harry thanked her, remembering her from a visit with his grandmother in his younger years. "Thank you, Madame Foley, for saving my life," he said sincerely. Cordelia, with a wave of her hand, dismissed the formalities. "Your gratitude is appreciated, but unnecessary. I did what any healer would. It is Myra here who deserves your thanks." The bond you share with her is quite extraordinary. Harry's smile towards Myra was full of affection and a silent promise to repay her loyalty. Harry sat up slowly, his body still weak but responding to the healing he had received. He looked around, taking in the details of the room, the shelves lined with potions, the cauldrons simmering with magical concoctions, and the comforting presence of Cordelia and Myra. Cordelia conducted a thorough examination of Harry. "You are recovering well, Harry. In a day or so, you should be able to move around. But we must tread carefully with the block on your magic, it's a delicate process and your body should heal to normal before we fully unlock it," she explained. Harry nodded, acknowledging the need for patience in regaining his strength and magical abilities. Cordelia then presented Harry with a pair of glasses, addressing his need for a visual aid. "I noticed you're nearsighted during my examination. I've ordered these glasses for you," she said, handing them over. Once Harry put on the glasses and glimpsed his reflection, he couldn't help but notice his striking resemblance to the Harry Potter he knew from the books, especially now, appearing thin and somewhat malnourished like the canon Harry. Harry then broached the subject of his presence causing trouble for Cordelia. He expressed his concern about Dumbledore's reaction and his intention to leave soon for safety. Cordelia, with a reassuring tone, dispelled his fears. "Dumbledore is under the impression you've passed away. Myra and I have seen to that," she revealed. Myra enthusiastically shared their daring escapade, explaining how they crafted a golem to mimic Harry, fooled the Dursleys, and convincingly staged Harry's supposed demise. Cordelia added details on how she altered the Dursleys' memories and erased any evidence of their scheme. Feeling a wave of relief and gratitude, Harry said, "Thank you for everything. What do I owe you for all this help?" Cordelia waved off his concern with a light-hearted remark, "You owe me nothing. Thwarting Dumbledore's plans was quite a delight. Besides, Myra has compensated me generously from your trust vault." Harry was more than content, knowing his life was worth any price. The conversation then turned to precautions. Harry was advised to avoid magic and dangerous situations until his recovery was complete. After Cordelia excused herself to continue her work and Myra went to help her, Harry was left alone with his thoughts, contemplating his future moves. He knew he couldn't remain at Cordelia's indefinitely without risking discovery. A visit to Gringotts was essential to look at his options and secure a new accommodation. Lying in bed, Harry felt invigorated by a sense of autonomy he hadn't experienced before. Freed from the constraints of the Dursleys and Dumbledore's machinations, he was poised to navigate his path, one marked by self-reliance and determination. The wizarding world, with its myriad challenges and opportunities, lay ahead, and Harry Potter was ready to embrace whatever came his way. The experiences he had endured had taught him the value of caution and the importance of being prepared. This time, as he prepared to step back into the magical community, he did so with a newfound resolve to approach each situation with extra care and to have multiple contingency plans in place. Chapter 27, A Visit to Gringotts Part 1. After spending 2 weeks recovering under the careful attention of Madame Cordelia Folly, Harry Potter felt renewed and eager to explore a world that seemed both known and unknown to him. His first task was straightforward. A trip to Gringotts, the Wizarding World's bank, was necessary. He needed to see if there were any Potter family properties available for his use. If not, he might need to think about creating a secret place to live with the help of Myra, his dedicated house elf. Though Harry could also consider deserted houses hidden away in the wilderness, he preferred to stay away from such places for reasons of safety. On the morning he planned to depart for Diagon Alley, Cordelia caught him carefully packing a small bag with all he might need for the day. "Off to conquer the world, Harry?" Cordelia asked with a gentle smile, looking over the neatly packed items in his bag. "Just Diagon Alley for now, Madame Folly," Harry replied, his smile mirroring hers. "I need to check on the Potter properties and perhaps find a new place to live." Cordelia had no reservations about letting the remarkably mature 6-year-old navigate Diagon Alley by himself. During his stay, she had been impressed by his intelligence and maturity, far beyond his years. Understanding that her home, often visited by those seeking her healing skills, wasn't a long-term option for Harry, she agreed that finding a Potter property was the best course of action. With Myra, his loyal house elf, by his side, Cordelia felt assured of his safety. Expressing his deep gratitude to Madame Folly, Harry promised to return for a follow-up visit. Accompanied by Myra, he first made a detour to a Muggle shop where he purchased a simple but effective disguise: a hat, glasses, and a hoodie. This modest ensemble, he hoped, would make him less conspicuous, allowing others to possibly mistake him for a small adult rather than a child. Navigating through the bustling streets of London, Harry found the unassuming entrance to the Leaky Cauldron. To those unaware of its significance, it appeared nothing more than a dilapidated pub. But hidden within was the portal to Diagon Alley, the heart of the Wizarding World's commercial district. Harry was well aware that house elves typically didn't accompany their wizards in Diagon Alley, not openly at least. If house elves needed to make purchases, they would pop directly into the shops. Wizards usually summoned their elves briefly to send their shopping home, avoiding keeping them by their side to maintain a low profile. Given his unique situation of being technically in hiding, Harry was cautious not to attract undue attention. Already conspicuous as a young boy venturing alone, having Myra with him would only draw more eyes. Though Diagon Alley was relatively safe, Harry was mindful to steer clear of Nocturne Alley's dangers. Thus, he decided it was best for Myra to leave him at the entrance. She gave him the exact instructions to unlock the magical barrier at the Leaky Cauldron, ensuring he could proceed alone confidently. As he stepped inside the dimly lit pub, he was met with the sight of a mix of witches and wizards chatting over their drinks. Harry made his way through the pub without drawing attention, heading straight to the secluded back courtyard. There, the ancient bricks of the rear wall awaited him. He picked up a rod lying near the wall and tapped the bricks in the precise sequence Myra had instructed. The bricks began to quiver and shift, moving aside to reveal the hidden entrance to Diagon Alley. Harry's heart raced with excitement as he witnessed the bricks rearrange themselves, forming an archway that unveiled the bustling, magical street. It was a moment of pure magic, a stark contrast to the mundane world he had known for so long. Stepping through the archway, Harry was greeted by the sights and sounds of Diagon Alley. It was a vibrant tapestry of shops and stalls, each offering an array of magical goods. The air was filled with the chatter of shoppers, the calls of vendors, and the occasional burst of laughter or spell. The cobblestone street wound ahead, lined with buildings that leaned and bulged in the most fantastical manners. Harry's eyes widened in wonder as he took in his surroundings. Shop windows displayed broomsticks that hovered gracefully, cauldrons that bubbled with colorful potions, and owls that hooted softly from their cages. Harry felt a sense of belonging, a connection to this world that he hadn't realized he had missed. As he walked down the street, absorbing the magical atmosphere, the grand edifice of Gringotts Bank came into view. The building stood tall and imposing at the end of Diagon Alley, its white marble and high columns exuding a sense of unyielding strength and security. Goblins of various statures moved in and out of the bank, some escorting clients, while others conversed in their guttural language. Harry approached the bank with a mix of awe and nervous anticipation. Harry took a deep breath and stepped into the grand foyer of Gringotts. The interior was as magnificent as its exterior, with high ceilings and sparkling chandeliers. Goblins busied themselves behind tall desks, attending to the needs of the wizarding community. With a determined stride, Harry approached one of the tellers. The goblin, perched on a high chair, peered down at him with sharp, calculating eyes. "State your business," it demanded in a gruff voice. Harry cleared his throat. "Hadrian Ignotus Potter, here to see the Potter account manager, Bark Hoke," he said, trying to sound confident. The goblin's eyes narrowed slightly, sizing up Harry with a scrutinizing glance that seemed to pierce through Harry's disguise. After a moment's pause, it beckoned a nearby clerk. "Take him to Bark Hoke," it instructed. The clerk, a slightly younger goblin with keen eyes, gestured for Harry to follow. They navigated through a labyrinth of corridors, the sounds of the main hall fading into a hushed silence. Harry's sense of anticipation grew with each step. They stopped before a heavy wooden door, marked with a brass plaque that read "Bark Hoke, Potter Account Manager." The clerk knocked sharply and a gruff voice from within called them in. Chapter 28, A Visit to Gringotts Part 2. Harry had never seen an office like this before. It was a strange blend of comfort and a kind of sternness that made one feel both welcomed and slightly on edge. The walls were decorated with an assortment of weapons and shields, each probably holding stories of ancient goblin battles. In one corner of the office stood a large filing cabinet, its drawers bulging with parchments and documents that seemed to contain the many secrets and dealings of Bark Hoke. Behind a large desk cluttered with various items sat Bark Hoke. He was an older goblin, his face marked with the lines of many years, each wrinkle telling a story of wisdom, experience, and perhaps, a certain strictness that goblins were known for. His keen eyes flickered with recognition as he appraised Harry. "Welcome, Master Potter. Before we proceed with anything, we must first verify your identity," Bark Hoke said, his voice carrying a tone of formality. He produced a small dagger, a standard tool for such procedures, and gently pricked Harry's finger. A drop of blood fell onto a piece of parchment waiting on the desk. The parchment reacted almost immediately, shimmering as if touched by magic itself. Words started forming, confirming Harry's identity: Hadrian Ignotus Potter, son of James Doria Potter. This simple act confirmed Harry's lineage and right to be sitting across from Bark Hoke. Now, Master Potter, to what do I owe the pleasure of your visit today? I was under the impression that family matters were usually handled by your father, James Potter, Bark Hoke inquired. His tone was neutral, displaying professional curiosity without prying too deeply into family dynamics. Harry just said that their relationship was strained and requested to view the wills of his grandparents. Understanding the delicate family situation, Bark Hoke nodded and retrieved a beautifully crafted case containing 2 wills. He explained that the full contents were reserved for the heir or Lord Potter, but proceeded to read the parts relevant to Harry. Listening intently, Harry learned of his grandfather's provision, a trust vault that accrued 1,000 galleons annually. It was a generous amount, indicative of the family's wealth, but it was his grandmother's will that brought a significant surprise. She had left Harry the remainder of her vault, which, after various bequests to close friends and family, contained about 50,000 galleons. However, due to a twist of fate and the precise wording of the will, Harry was about to receive far more than he anticipated. Bark Hoke revealed that, following Voldemort's defeat, the Ministry awarded a bounty of 200,000 galleons for the contribution to his downfall. This entire amount had been added to her vault. And now, because of the way the will was worded, all of it was transferred to Harry. The money was good, but it was a personal note from his grandmother that deeply touched Harry. Written in her hand, it read: My dear Harry, I must confess, you are my favorite person in this world. Knowing you and your character, which differs greatly from your father's, I foresaw potential conflicts. Unlike James, you are determined and focused, not given to frivolity or blind worship. Anticipating a rift, much like Sirius and his family, I prepared a haven for you. A house in the mountains, a place of peace and beauty, where you can find solace and strength. It was your grandfather's and my favorite retreat. Use it well, perhaps even to entertain future companions. We have high hopes for you, dear Harry, to carry on the Potter legacy. Our dreams of a strong, thriving family rest on your shoulders. Wiping away a tear, Harry chuckled at the last line, touched by his grandmother's foresight and care. The property was now his, a gift from a grandmother who had understood him better than he realized. Bark Hoke, observing Harry's reaction, cleared his throat and handed him a small, intricately designed locket. This, he explained, is a porte-clés to your new property in the mountains. Your grandmother seemed quite fond of this place. Harry held the locket in his hand, feeling the weight of his family's legacy. He was eager to see this sanctuary that had been lovingly prepared for him. Before leaving, Harry inquired about the state of his vaults. Bark Hoke provided him with detailed records, showing only the recent withdrawals made by Myra for his necessities. Harry was impressed by the security and thoroughness of Gringotts. Before leaving, Harry expressed his concern about keeping his visit confidential. I'd appreciate it if my visit today remained between us, he said. Your visit shall remain undisclosed unless directly inquired by James Potter, Bark Hoke assured him. Harry felt a sense of relief, knowing his father was unlikely to probe into his financial affairs. Satisfied, Harry thanked Bark Hoke and left the office. Emerging from the grandeur of Gringotts, Harry felt an urge to explore the wonders of Diagon Alley. However, the need for security and maintaining secrecy weighed heavily on his mind. Reluctantly, Harry decided to postpone his exploration of Diagon Alley, setting his sights on a day in the future, perhaps when he received his Hogwarts letter at the age of 11. By then, he reassured himself, he would be sufficiently strong to defend himself and navigate this magical world with confidence. With a heavy heart yet a mind full of plans, Harry made his way out of the bustling streets of Diagon Alley. Exiting the leaky cauldron into the Muggle world, he slipped into a hidden alley, away from the prying eyes of the magical community. In the seclusion of the alley, Harry called for Myra. The faithful house elf appeared with a soft pop, her eyes bright with anticipation. Together, they prepared to activate the porte-clés. Harry held onto the locket tightly, a symbol of his new beginning and the freedom it represented. With a final glance at the ordinary world around him, he braced himself for the journey ahead. With a twist of magic and a sense of being pulled through space, Harry and Myra were whisked away by the porte-clés. Harry Potter was ready to embark on a new chapter of his life, one filled with independence and discovery, away from the shadows of his past. Chapter 29, The Sanctuary on the Hill. The Porte-Cayes magic subsided, leaving Harry standing at the entrance of a yard that belonged to his new home. He found himself in the rural heart of England, surrounded by the serene beauty of rolling hills and verdant fields. The sky was a tapestry of orange and pink hues, painting a picturesque sunset. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of earth and wild flowers, a stark contrast to the city's hustle and bustle. Before him stood a quaint house, reminiscent of the one belonging to Bill Weasley in the Wizarding World's lore. Its exterior, charming and rustic, was adorned with climbing ivy and blooming flowers. The structure, built with a blend of magic and traditional architecture, stood harmoniously with its natural surroundings. It was as if the house had grown from the earth itself, rooted in the land's magic and history. Harry approached the house, his steps echoing with a sense of purpose. The wooden door, engraved with subtle magical runes, opened into a cozy interior, a welcoming embrace from the cold evening air. The house, though small, was meticulously designed, each space utilized to its fullest potential. The living room was warm and inviting, with a fireplace crackling in the hearth. Comfortable armchairs and a sofa were arranged around a low table, perfect for evenings of relaxation and contemplation. Soft, enchanted light filled the room, casting a gentle glow on the walls adorned with pictures of landscapes and abstract magical motifs. Adjacent to the living room was a small but functional kitchen, equipped with magical and mundane appliances. It was clear that the house, while rooted in wizarding traditions, had adaptations for someone familiar with the Muggle world. Harry's exploration led him to the 2 bedrooms. Each room was furnished simply but comfortably, with beds that promised restful sleep and windows that offered views of the starlit sky. But it was the library that truly captured Harry's attention. The library in Harry's new home was a haven of knowledge, a meticulously curated collection that reflected the foresight and care of Euphemia Potter. Each shelf, each book, was a testament to her desire to equip Harry with the tools necessary for an exceptional education in the wizarding world. As Harry perused the shelves, he was struck by the breadth and depth of the collection. Here were the standard textbooks required for Hogwarts, meticulously arranged in order of year and subject. A History of Magic by Bathilda Bagshot, Magical Theory by Adalbert Waffling, A Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration by Emmerich Switch. These and many others stood ready to guide him through his academic journey. For his first year, he found 1000 Magical Herbs and Fungi by Phil Littespore, Magical Drafts and Potions by Arsenius Jigger, and Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by Newt Scamander. There was also The Dark Forces, A Guide to Self-Protection by Quentin Trimble, and the first of Miranda Goshawk's The Standard Book of Spells series. As he progressed through the library, he discovered subsequent years' texts, The Monster Book of Monsters for Care of Magical Creatures, Unfogging the Future by Cassandra Vablatsky for Divination Studies, and Defensive Magical Theory by Wilbert Slinkhard. The collection continued with advanced texts like Advanced Potion Making by Libadius Borage and a complete series of The Standard Book of Spells up to grade 7. Beyond the standard curriculum, the library offered more. There were books on magical laws, modern history, and even a guide to magical etiquette, ensuring that Harry would be well versed in the broader aspects of wizarding society. Storybooks like The Tales of Beetle the Bard promised lighter reading, while Quidditch Through the Ages by Kenilworthy Wisp offered insight into the wizarding world's favorite sport. Euphemia had also included texts on more specialized subjects like mind magics and magical theory, anticipating Harry's potential interests and academic pursuits. Each book was a gateway to knowledge, a resource that would empower Harry to excel academically. Euphemia's foresight in assembling this library spoke of her deep understanding of the educational needs of a young wizard. She had ensured that Harry would not only pass his courses but excel with outstanding grades. Settling into an armchair in the library, Harry began to plan his future. He was acutely aware of the limitations his body faced due to malnutrition and the ongoing magical block. Starting a rigorous training regime was out of the question until he had fully recovered, both physically and magically. Harry realized the importance of rebuilding his body, but he was at a loss regarding the best approach. His knowledge of exercise was limited to basic cardio and bodybuilding routines from his past life, but he was uncertain if these were suitable for a 6-year-old child, especially one recovering from severe neglect and malnutrition. Harry figured he'd need someone who really knew about these things to help him out, but getting into a gym as a kid, especially without an adult saying it was okay, wasn't going to happen. He had plenty of money, but that wasn't the issue. Cordelia Folly could be convinced to accompany him, but that would have to wait until his next visit. For the time being, Harry decided to focus on what he could control. A nutritious diet was the first step towards physical recovery. He planned to utilize the well-equipped kitchen in his new home to prepare healthy meals with the help of Myra, ensuring his body received the necessary nutrients to heal and strengthen. Mental well-being was another area that required attention. The years of neglect and bullying at the Dursleys had left their mark, and Harry recognized the need to address these issues. The emotions left behind if not addressed would not bode well for him in the future and could lead to him going evil. Without access to a psychologist for counseling, meditation appeared to be his best option to fix this. Through meditation, he hoped to work through the emotional scars, finding peace and resilience within his own mind. The Dursleys' treatment of Harry was harsh and uncaring, yet Harry didn't label them as evil. They rarely harmed him physically and, out of fear of Dumbledore and other wizards, they allowed him to stay in their home. Despite these slight concessions, Harry couldn't find it in himself to forgive them for the years of neglect and emotional pain they inflicted on him. He harbored no desire for revenge, but he firmly believed in the principle that actions have consequences. Harry understood that the Dursleys would eventually face the repercussions of their mistreatment, without him needing to lift a finger. The fabricated story of his death and how they acted afterward were bound to raise suspicions. When neighbors in Harry's school noticed his abrupt absence, questions would inevitably lead to an official inquiry. Such an investigation was bound to bring the Dursleys' neglect and abuse to light. In Harry's mind, the wheels of justice were already in motion. The Dursleys, who had tried to hide their abusive behavior, would soon find themselves under scrutiny. The legal ramifications of their actions would be unavoidable, and they would have to answer for the harm they had caused. As for the driver involved in the accident, although his role was minor, he too would face some form of accountability. As the night deepened, Harry experienced a profound sense of tranquility in his new residence. This haven, perched atop a hill, symbolized more than just a physical dwelling, it represented the dawn of a fresh chapter in Harry's life. A chapter where he could chart his own course and make decisions for himself, away from the shadows of his past. Here, in the quiet of the countryside, Harry Potter began the journey of rediscovering himself and preparing for the future. Chapter 30, The Path to Strength. In the days following his move to a secluded mountain home, Harry Potter found himself enjoying the peace and solitude of his new surroundings. This picturesque retreat, nestled among the hills, provided Harry with the perfect backdrop to recover and reflect. He spent his days indulging in simple pleasures, eating nutritious meals, wandering through the nearby forest at dawn and dusk, and cautiously exploring the expansive farmlands that lay just beyond a neighboring hill. From his vantage point, he could see a solitary farmhouse in the distance, though he wasn't sure if it was inhabited. Curious but preferring to keep to himself, Harry was careful not to venture too close. The remoteness of his location, while ideal for staying hidden, also meant that he relied on Myra, his dedicated house elf, to fetch groceries from Diagon Alley, as he couldn't risk being seen in public places. Feeling it was time for a health checkup, Harry, accompanied by Myra, returned to the home of Cordelia Fawley, the healer who had been a beacon of hope in his darkest times. The air filled with the scent of herbs greeted Harry and Myra as they made their way back to Cordelia Fawley's cottage. Cordelia, ever the gracious host, welcomed them warmly. This time, they were greeted by an additional presence, Emma Foster, Cordelia's protégée. Emma, a tall woman with black hair and an air of keen intelligence, introduced herself. Having recently graduated from Hogwarts and now under Cordelia's tutelage, Emma was clearly passionate about healing and eager to absorb all the wisdom Cordelia had to offer. Emma, intrigued by Harry's frail appearance, listened intently as Cordelia, with Harry's permission, divulged the harrowing details of his past and the recent ordeal he had endured. Emma's expression shifted from shock to anger and finally settled on a profound sympathy for the young wizard. It was clear she shared Cordelia's passion for both healing and justice. "I can't begin to imagine what you've been through, Harry," she said, her voice soft yet full of empathy. "For someone so young to endure so much is beyond belief." Harry acknowledged her compassion with a nod. "It's been a tough road, but I'm now looking towards the future." Emma couldn't help but smile at his response. There was something both endearing and slightly amusing about such maturity coming from someone so young. The examination proceeded smoothly, with Emma proving her skill by assisting Cordelia with a level of expertise that put Harry at ease. As they wrapped up, Emma's curiosity shone through. She was clearly interested in learning more about Harry's experiences and how she might help him on his path to recovery. "What plans do you have now, Harry?" she inquired, her eyes reflecting genuine interest. Harry, who had been giving this a lot of thought, shared his idea of joining a fitness center in the Muggle world. He said he'd overheard some kids at his old Muggle school talking about their training routines, and it sparked an idea in him. I hope to build up my body properly, considering my past health issues, he explained. Emma seemed really interested in this plan. That's quite fascinating. I've always wondered how Muggles take care of their health and cure diseases without using any magic. Seeing Emma's enthusiasm, Harry saw a chance not just to learn together but also to have the guardian he needed to sign up at the fitness center. Would you want to come with me? He asked. I could use your help getting in, and it might be a good learning experience for both of us. Emma's smile grew at the invitation. I'd be happy to join you, Harry. I've been curious about the Muggle world for a long time, but I've always been cautious because of the rules we have about keeping our world secret. It'll be interesting to see how they manage without magic. This solved a big problem for Harry. He needed an adult to help him join the fitness center, and Cordelia, though she was wonderful, might seem too much like a grandmother figure for this. Emma, who was younger and full of curiosity about the Muggle world, felt like the perfect person to come along. The following day, Harry and Emma ventured into the bustling city of London. The stark contrast between the magical and Muggle worlds was evident, and Harry took the time to introduce Emma to various aspects of the Muggle life. As they navigated through the busy sidewalks, Emma couldn't hide her amazement. All these cars and buses! She exclaimed, her eyes wide as she took in the scene. And so many people everywhere. Harry grinned, enjoying her reactions. It's a lot different from Diagon Alley, isn't it? And wait until you try the food here. Their destination was a well-known fitness center, a place that came highly recommended for its comprehensive health programs. Upon their arrival, they were greeted warmly by the receptionist, whose professional demeanor put them at ease. Welcome. How can we assist you today? She inquired, her smile friendly. Harry felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. He needed to appear as a regular child seeking fitness guidance. Emma, acting as his elder sister, approached the reception and spoke first. My little brother, Harry, here needs a fitness and meal plan. He's had some health issues due to an eating disorder, but he's eager to get stronger. The receptionist responded with kindness, quickly calling over Ethan, one of the center's trainers, to meet them. Ethan was friendly and attentive as he crouched down to speak with Harry. Hi there, Harry. I'm Ethan. Tell me, what help do you need from me? What are your fitness goals? Harry, maintaining his childlike demeanor, looked up at Ethan with wide, earnest eyes. I want to be strong, not skinny. I don't want to be bullied anymore, he said, his voice carrying a hint of vulnerability. We'll work on that together, Ethan assured him, a supportive smile on his face. Let's start with some basic measurements and figure out what exercises and diet plan will work best for you. Harry was then guided to another room where they recorded his weight and height and tested his strength with some light weights to find his starting point. Ethan then took Harry and Emma to a training area for a practical demonstration. He introduced Harry to several exercises designed for his age group, explaining how each one would contribute to building his strength in a safe, gradual manner. Harry joined in with eagerness, finding the activities both fun and challenging. After the workout, Ethan outlined a simple but effective diet plan to accompany Harry's exercise routine. Both Harry and Emma listened intently, with Emma particularly fascinated by the Muggle perspective on health and fitness. Feeling confident and excited about the program, Harry decided to sign up. They completed the membership process, and with that, Harry was officially enrolled in the fitness center, ready to start his personalized plan the following day. As they left the fitness center, Harry steered Emma towards a nearby pizza place. You'll love this, he assured her. Emma's first bite of pizza was a revelation. This is delicious! She exclaimed. I had no idea Muggle food could be so tasty. Harry chuckled. Just wait until we try other cuisines. There's so much to explore. The day ended with a shopping spree, much to Emma's delight. Harry, thankful for her help, decided to take her shopping. She marveled at the variety of clothes and jewelry, her enthusiasm only slightly dampened by their limited funds. The following day, back at the fitness center, Ethan presented Harry with a comprehensive plan. This includes specific exercises and a detailed diet plan, tailored just for you. Emma listened in astonishment as Ethan outlined a diet rich in proteins and nutrients unfamiliar to her. I've never heard of some of the benefits of simple food items, she admitted. It's fascinating. After discussing the plan with Ethan, Harry was eager to start his journey toward physical wellness. As they left the fitness center, Harry promised Emma more culinary adventures and shopping trips in the future. With his rehabilitation plan in hand and a newfound sense of purpose, Harry was ready to take the first steps towards a healthier and stronger self. Chapter 31, Mastery of the Mind. As Harry embarked on his fitness-building journey at the fitness center with Ethan, Harry found himself with a considerable amount of free time between his training sessions. Emma and Cordelia had advised him to avoid magical neighborhoods and to remain in safe spaces to prevent accidental magic due to a concern over Harry's physical and magical recovery. They feared that premature engagement with magic could lead to unintended consequences, given his current condition. Consequently, Harry was left with significant periods of idle time, which he was keen on utilizing constructively. Eager to use this time productively and reflecting on his options, Harry's thoughts turned to the study of mind magic. This discipline required no wands or verbal spells, nor did it necessitate the channeling of magic through his still recovering body. Mind magic was primarily an internal practice, focusing on the wizard's mental fortitude and control, which made it an appealing subject for Harry. It offered a way for him to continue his magical education without the risk of triggering any accidental magic. Understanding the basics of mind magic, especially occlumency and legilimency, seemed like a prudent choice. These arts, dealing with the protection of one's mind against external penetration and the ability to penetrate the minds of others, respectively, required a strong mental discipline rather than physical might or magical prowess. Harry saw this as an opportunity not only to strengthen his mind but also to gain a defensive skill that could be invaluable in the future. He started with occlumency, which is essentially the art of protecting one's mind against external invasions. The library at his grandparents' home was well stocked with literature on the subject. This collection hinted at their understanding of the importance of such knowledge. As Harry delved into the study materials, he quickly realized the discrepancies between the real practices of occlumency and the exaggerated portrayals he had encountered in fanfiction during his previous life. The fanfictions often depicted occlumency through fantastical mindscapes and intricate memory vaults, but the reality was starkly different. True occlumency focused on building a strong shield around one's mind. This shield acted as a fortress, protecting one's thoughts and memories from being accessed or influenced by others. The training process was gradual, aimed at reinforcing this shield until it was formidable enough to withstand any form of external probing, even resisting the Hogwarts Sorting Hat's attempts to peek into the wearer's mind. On the other hand, legilimency was its aggressive counterpart. It involved extending one's magic to touch and read the minds of others. While its primary function was to access memories, Harry also learned that legilimency could be used to modify or even insert new memories into someone's mind. This aspect of legilimency was both fascinating and slightly alarming to Harry. The practice of legilimency necessitated a careful approach, as it meant breaching someone else's mental defenses. Harry was wary of practicing this on others without being sure he wouldn't cause them harm. Despite recognizing its potential value, he hesitated to experiment with actual targets, choosing instead to focus on the theoretical and preparatory aspects of the skill. This approach, while safer, meant that his progress in mastering legilimency was slow. As Harry explored the complex world of mind magic further, he found himself reflecting on how powerful wizards like Dumbledore and Snape wielded these formidable skills. Known for their mastery in legilimency, both wizards held a certain mystique, but Harry felt uneasy about the potential misuse of such power. Dumbledore's twinkling eyes, often perceived as a sign of benign wisdom, now took on a new meaning for Harry. He wondered if those eyes were not just a facade but a subtle use of legilimency. Harry recalled the night Voldemort attacked and how effortlessly Dumbledore seemed to attempt to delve into his young mind. This raised a troubling question: if Dumbledore could try to read Harry's thoughts so easily, what stopped him from doing the same with any student at Hogwarts? This realization added another layer of complexity to Harry's understanding of the revered headmaster. Then there was Snape, whose teaching methods at Hogwarts had always been a subject of controversy. Now he could not help but doubt the way Snape taught occlumency to the canon Harry. The stories portrayed Snape's teaching methods as harsh and aggressive, a stark contrast to what might be expected in teaching such a delicate art. This forceful approach, while potentially effective for someone with a strong foundation in mind magic, seemed downright dangerous for beginners like the canon Harry, who lacked any basic understanding of occlumency. Harry reflected on the implications of Snape's teaching style. The relentless attacks could easily shatter a person's mental defenses, leaving them vulnerable to external intrusions. In canon Harry's case, this approach likely made him more susceptible to Voldemort's dream invasions. Instead of strengthening his defenses, Snape's method had exposed Harry to greater danger. This realization led Harry to question Snape's intentions. Was it a misguided attempt to hasten Harry's learning, or was there a more sinister motive behind it? These thoughts weighed heavily on Harry as he continued his occlumency practice. The knowledge that powerful wizards like Dumbledore and Snape could manipulate minds so subtly and effectively underscored the importance of mastering these arts. Harry understood that to protect himself and his secrets, he needed to become adept at occlumency. He could not afford to leave any vulnerabilities that could be exploited. Occlumency will also help prevent anyone from suppressing his memories like Dumbledore had done in the past. Each day, after his physical rehabilitation exercises, Harry retreated to his library. There, in the quietude, he practiced forming and strengthening his mental shield. This process of reinforcing his mental defenses also allowed him to reflect inwardly, gaining a better understanding of his own mind and emotions. Over time, Harry's efforts in occlumency began to bear fruit. He discovered he had a natural aptitude for it, and his mental shield grew stronger and more resilient. This newfound strength in his mental defenses brought Harry a sense of security and confidence. He knew that his mind was becoming a fortress, impervious to unwanted intrusion. However, Harry's progress in legilimency was not so good. Without using it on someone, Harry could not make any progress in the skill, but the ethical implications of such an invasive technique were holding him back. Also, because he wasn't very good yet, he might accidentally hurt someone's mind if he tried. So, without practicing on someone, Harry couldn't really improve at all. Despite this, Harry was determined to improve his skills in legilimency as well. He started practicing on the small animals that lived near his home, trying to sense their simple thoughts and emotions. While he couldn't fully read or understand their minds, these gentle attempts helped him refine his technique without overstepping ethical boundaries. Harry's journey into mind magic was more than a mere expansion of his magical skills, it was a deep exploration into his own soul and psyche. As he worked to reinforce his mental defenses and cautiously experimented with legilimency, Harry was not just preparing for the future challenges he would face in the wizarding world. He was also healing and strengthening his inner self. In the peace of his mountain retreat, Harry was not only rebuilding his physical strength but was also forging a mind that was ready to face whatever lay ahead with resilience and integrity. Chapter 32, Adventuring in the Muggle World. As Harry Potter's training progressed, both in physical fitness and the intricate arts of occlumency and legilimency, he found a welcome distraction in accompanying Emma on exploratory trips into the Muggle world. These outings provided Harry not just a break from his intense daily practices but also a chance to live out some of the dreams the memory-charmed Harry had quietly cherished during his lonely days in the Dursleys' cupboard under the stairs. Back then, the young Harry could only listen enviously to his schoolmates talking about their family outings and adventures, imagining what it would be like to experience such freedom and joy himself. Now, with Emma as his guide and companion in the Muggle world, Harry was finally making those hidden dreams a reality. It was more than just exploration, it was a therapeutic journey that helped mend some of the hidden emotional wounds inflicted by Harry's harsh upbringing with the Dursleys. Myra, Harry's loyal house elf and friend, was always there with them, though she remained unseen by any Muggles they encountered. Their adventures began with culinary explorations. Each week, Harry and Emma would try different cuisines from around the world. Their initial foray was into the heart of a Chinese eatery, where Emma was enchanted by the rich flavors of Peking duck alongside the simple yet sublime fried rice, a stark departure from the traditional British meals she grew up with. The journey continued the next week to an Indian haven, where the buttery splendor of butter chicken, the robust spices of Rogan Josh, and the soft embrace of garlic naan bread offered her a vibrant introduction to the complexities of Indian cuisine. The layered and aromatic biryani served as a master class in flavor fusion. Their culinary journey didn't stop there, they savored the vibrant and hearty flavors of Mexican tacos and enchiladas, delved into the heart of American cuisine with succulent fried chicken, juicy burgers, and crisp fries, and immersed themselves in the delicate art of Japanese dining with slices of fresh sashimi, sushi, and steaming bowls of ramen. Each meal was a step further into a world of tastes, significantly broadening Emma's palate well beyond her familiar tastes. Myra, Harry's dependable house elf, watched these food adventures from the shadows. Fascinated by the variety of cooking methods and flavors, she started recreating these dishes for Harry at home. Her efforts resulted in an impressive array of international cuisine, from perfectly rolled sushi to fiery curries, bringing a taste of their outings into their daily meals and making dining at home an adventure in itself. Another memorable adventure was their day at an amusement park, a completely new experience for Emma. She was thrilled by the rides, each one more exciting than the last. The Ferris wheel gave them a breathtaking view of the entire park, while the roller coaster, with its sudden drops and fast turns, had them both screaming and laughing. Emma's excitement was contagious, and for Harry, it was a day to let go of his worries and just enjoy the moment. Laughing and sharing these experiences with Emma, Harry felt a lightness he hadn't known in a long time, a welcome respite from the challenges of his magical training and the complexities of the wizarding world. During their outing to the London Zoo, Harry and Emma found themselves amidst a world vastly different from the magical reserves known to wizards. For Emma, the zoo was a novel experience, her eyes widening with childlike wonder at each enclosure they passed. She marveled at the variety of animals, from the majestic lions and tigers to the playful antics of monkeys swinging from branch to branch. As they approached the reptile house, Harry's curiosity piqued. He remembered the incident from the Harry Potter books where young Harry had conversed with a snake. Discreetly, he glanced around to ensure they were relatively alone before leaning closer to one of the snake enclosures. In a low whisper, barely audible and with his mind focused intently on the creature, he said, "Hello." He felt a mix of relief and wonder when the snake seemed to talk back, sticking its tongue out as if it was chatting. "Hello, speaker," the snake seemed to say. Choosing to keep this extraordinary ability hidden from Emma, Harry refrained from further engagement with the snake and discreetly withdrew. Uncertain of how she might react to his unique talent, he deemed it wiser to guard this secret for the time being. Meanwhile, Emma was utterly engrossed by a chameleon, marveling at its ability to change colors, oblivious to Harry's secret conversation. She commented on the diversity of the reptile house, expressing a mix of fascination and concern. "It's incredible to see these creatures up close," she said. "But it's a bit sad, isn't it? In the magical world, we have reserves for dangerous beasts, but they have more space and more freedom. Here, they're all in cages." Harry nodded in agreement, his mind still preoccupied with the implications of his conversation with the snake. "Yes, it's a different approach here in the Muggle world. Conservation and education, but at the cost of natural freedom for these animals," he replied, his tone thoughtful. Harry's mind was raised with questions after discovering himself to be a Parselmouth. The ability to speak Parseltongue was supposed to be linked to Voldemort's soul shard within him. But with that shard destroyed, why did he still possess this ability? Could there be another reason for his affinity with snakes? Lost in thought, Harry eventually bid farewell to the reptile house with more questions than answers. The ability to speak Parseltongue, rare and significant in the wizarding world, was a piece of his identity that he couldn't ignore. It was a mystery that hinted at deeper, hidden aspects of his lineage or magical abilities, aspects that he had yet to fully understand. As they continued their tour of the zoo, Emma's enthusiasm never waned. She was particularly taken with the giraffes, their long necks and gentle eyes captivating her. "They're so graceful," she remarked, "it's like watching a creature from a children's tale." Harry smiled, watching her delight in the simple joys of the Muggle world. Cordelia, Emma's mentor, never accompanied them on these outings, citing her age as the reason. However, she was fully supportive, seeing it as an opportunity for Harry to have a form of adult supervision. Despite Harry's unusual maturity for his age and having Myra for company, Cordelia wasn't entirely comfortable with the idea of him living independently. These adventures with Emma served as a compromise, allowing Harry to explore while under the watchful eye of someone Cordelia trusted. As the months flew by, Harry neared a pivotal moment in his life. His 7th birthday was on the horizon, marking a crucial phase in a young wizard's development when magical cores begin to stabilize. This period is traditionally when magical families introduce their children to formal magic training. Cordelia, recognizing the importance of this milestone and seeing that Harry had recovered well, decided it was time to lift the magical restrictions placed on Harry's core. The process of removing these blocks was simple yet profound. With a series of wand gestures, Cordelia unleashed the magic within Harry, overwhelming him with a tidal wave of magical energy that knocked him unconscious. Waking from this intense experience, Harry felt an unparalleled sense of wholeness and energy. Cordelia noted that the suppression had inadvertently enhanced his magical reserves, now comparable to a wizard several years his senior. After days of adjusting to his unblocked core, Cordelia approached Harry with a significant proposal: the Purification Ritual. Chapter 33, The Purification Ritual. The Purification Ritual was a rare and ancient ritual that promised to cleanse any lingering dark injuries in his body. This formidable ritual was seldom performed, deterred not only by its need for costly materials but also by the stringent condition that it be performed before a child's 7th birthday, when a magical core begins its initial stabilization and the severe pain it delivered to its subject. The ritual delved deep into one's blood, aimed to delve into the participant's bloodline, awakening long-lost magical abilities and purifying the individual's magic and physical wounds. Cordelia, with a grave expression, outlined the risks involved. Harry, Undergoing this ritual can be incredibly painful. It's been known to push many children to the brink of insanity or worse. I believe in your strength to endure it, but the choice must be yours. She cautioned, emphasizing the gravity of the choice before him. Undeterred by the potential dangers, Harry saw the ritual as an opportunity to unlock his latent magical powers and rid himself of any lingering darkness within his magic or deep injuries inside his body. Confident in his adult mind and robust physical condition, he consented to undergo the ritual. The ritual was scheduled for the night preceding Harry's 7th birthday, a time imbued with magical significance. In the heart of Cordelia's garden, under the watchful gaze of the stars, a runic circle had been meticulously drawn, setting the stage for the ceremony. With Cordelia's expertise in ritual magic guiding them, and Emma providing assistance, the stage was set. Harry, donned in garments woven from the silk of magical silkworms, a material known for its enchantment-conducting properties, took his place at the circle's center. As dusk melded into night, anticipation electrified the air. Cordelia commenced the ritual with a commanding incantation, her voice resonating with power. Harry, attempting to remain composed, focused intently on his breathing, steeling himself for what was to come. As the chant filled the air, Harry felt a subtle vibration of magic under his skin, a prelude to the ritual's power. The runes around him, each a conduit of ancient magic, began to shine, their light growing in intensity, reflecting the energy Harry contributed. The moment the ritual reached its peak, a radiant light enveloped Harry, isolating him in a sphere of pure magical force. Positioned in meditation, he tensed, awaiting the onset of pain that was to mark the ritual's progression. Then, without any forewarning, an excruciating pain erupted throughout his body, as if his blood were aflame. Harry clenched his teeth, forcing himself to endure the agony. He focused on the purpose of the ritual, the awakening of dormant bloodline traits and the cleansing of his magical core. As the pain reached its peak, encompassing every cell in his body, Harry felt a sense of purification sweeping through him. Despite his formidable willpower, the intensity of the ritual soon overwhelmed him, and he succumbed to unconsciousness. When Harry awoke, it was still nighttime. The magical circle on the ground had faded, and Cordelia and Emma were right there with him, smiling widely, relieved and happy. Harry still felt some pain, but it was mixed with a feeling of being completely refreshed and renewed. "Harry, you made it through," Cordelia said, her voice full of pride. The ritual was a complete success. Harry slowly got to his feet, feeling a newfound strength and vitality coursing through him. His skin felt rejuvenated, and his senses seemed heightened. His eyesight was also completely fixed. He did not need to wear glasses any longer. Harry then quickly changed into his everyday clothes and looked at his reflection in the mirror. He noticed subtle changes. His green eyes were more vibrant, and there was an indefinable quality to his aura that spoke of powerful magic. "Try to see if you have any new magical abilities," Emma suggested excitedly. "Your family has a strong magical heritage." As Harry experimented with his newfound abilities, he discovered a partial metamorphomagus talent, inherited from his black great-grandmother. The ability to alter his appearance, though limited to just the face, was a remarkable gift. Harry had pondered the possibility of possessing such power, aware of the fan theories suggesting that even Canon Harry might have harbored a latent version of this skill. The discovery of being a partial metamorphomagus filled him with excitement for its potential applications in the future. Additionally, Harry sensed a profound connection to his magic, a gift flowing through the veins of the Potter family. This natural ease with magic made every spell feel more intuitive, promising a smoother journey in mastering magical arts. Cordelia explained that the ritual had unlocked these latent abilities and purified his magical core, making the flow of magic within him smoother and more potent. "I feel different," Harry remarked, a sense of awe in his voice. "Like I've tapped into a part of me that I never knew existed." In the days following the ritual, Harry got to know about more changes. His physical strength and agility had also improved significantly. Movements that once required effort were now fluid and effortless. His mind, too, felt sharper, more attuned to the nuances of occlumency and legilimency. In the tranquility of the evening, as Harry stood on the lawn of his mountain home, he reflected on the profound transformation he had undergone through the purification ritual. It was a tough experience but ultimately enriching, unlocking powers he hadn't known he had and healing old wounds. The dark injuries, both physical and magical, from his difficult past were healed. The ritual had delved into his core, aligning his body and magic in perfect harmony. But the healing wasn't just physical. The emotional scars and burdens he carried had been lifted, clearing away fears and insecurities. The ritual had purified him, not just in body and magic but in mind and spirit too, leaving him with a clearer vision for his future. Now, with new abilities and a clean slate, Harry felt ready to dive deeper into his magical studies and forge his path in the wizarding world, free from the shadows of his past. Chapter 34, Secrets of the Trace and Magical Monitoring. October 12, 1984. The next day, Harry Potter's 7th birthday, marked by a small celebration at his house with Myra, Emma, and Cordelia, was the beginning of a new chapter in his life. Myra, with her usual enthusiasm, had decorated the house, turning it into a festive haven. It was a day filled with laughter and a deep sense of thankfulness. The day following his birthday, after a thorough examination by Cordelia, Harry was declared in perfect health. Cordelia, assuming Harry would prefer to learn magic alongside his peers at Hogwarts, didn't encourage him to start his magical studies early. But Harry, filled with an eagerness to dive into the wizarding world's depths, couldn't bear the thought of delaying his magical learning any longer. During this period of introspection and planning for his future, Harry found himself mulling over a conversation he once had with Emma about the wizarding world's mechanisms to enforce the statute of secrecy, especially regarding accidental magic by young witches and wizards. Sitting together in the cozy ambience of Cordelia's cottage, bathed in sunlight filtering through the windows, Harry had broached the subject. "Emma," Harry had begun, his curiosity piqued, "how does our world ensure the statute of secrecy is upheld, especially with accidental magic from young Muggle-born witches and wizards? Surely, they must cause breaches now and then." Emma, thoughtfully pausing over her cup of tea, had acknowledged the complexity of the issue. "Well, Harry, the Ministry of Magic has established an incredibly intricate system for this purpose. Imagine it as a sort of magical dome that extends over the entire region under their control, aligning mostly with the geographical boundaries of nations. This dome is tasked with monitoring a wide array of magical activities." Intrigued, Harry leaned forward. "What sort of activities does this dome keep track of?" Emma detailed the scope of the dome's monitoring capabilities. "It's quite broad. Everything from unauthorized apparition into the country, to the misuse of port keys, and even large-scale magical disturbances are detected by this magical dome. But it's not without its limitations, especially when it comes to minor magical incidents, like accidental magic." Harry, pondering the explanation, queried further about how such situations were managed. "Accidental magic is rare and usually dismissed by Muggles as odd but explainable phenomena. However, in instances where it might escalate into a larger issue, the Ministry collaborates with the Muggle government. They've established a department specifically for dealing with magical occurrences," Emma explained. Harry, keen on understanding the full picture, then questioned the handling of significant magical events. Emma reassured him, for more substantial magical activities that might risk exposure, especially those occurring near Muggle populations, the Ministry's improper use of magic office is immediately alerted. Curious about the response to such alerts, Harry inquired further. "In those cases, a team comprised of Aurors and Obliviators is promptly sent to investigate. The Aurors evaluate any threats, while the Obliviators are tasked with modifying the memories of any Muggles who might have witnessed the magic," Emma elaborated, painting a picture of a well-organized and efficient system designed to protect the secrecy of their world. Upon learning about the Ministry's intricate measures to uphold the statute of secrecy, Harry was taken aback. The Ministry he had read about in the books, often depicted in less than flattering terms, appeared to have a deeper layer of complexity and efficiency than he had anticipated. This revelation led Harry to probe further into another aspect of magical law enforcement that intrigued him. "Emma," he started, his interest piqued, "there's another thing that's been on my mind. The trace meant to monitor underage magic use outside of school. How exactly does it function?" Emma settled more comfortably into her chair, a look of concentration on her face as she prepared to delve into the details. "The trace, Harry, is a sophisticated enchantment, and contrary to popular belief, it's not placed on wands. It's actually applied directly to the individuals themselves. This ensures that children using an inherited wand are still monitored. The placing of the trace on the person happens when they first step into Hogwarts, during that iconic boat ride across the Great Lake with Hagrid. The passage under the bridge they cross is enchanted specifically to place the trace." Harry was visibly surprised by this explanation. "So, it's attached to the person? That's news to me." "That's right," Emma confirmed, nodding. "And Hogwarts isn't unique in this respect. Other magical schools around the world use similar methods to ensure the trace is placed on their students. Its primary function is to alert the Ministry of Magic anytime an underage witch or wizard performs magic. Harry mulled over this information, then asked, "But does it actually work all the time?" Emma offered a nuanced explanation. "It's generally effective, but like any system, it has its weak spots. For instance, in places where magic is a common occurrence, like Diagon Alley or Hogwarts, the trace can't accurately identify if any spell was cast. The high concentration of magical energy in these areas confuses the trace, rendering it unreliable." Harry, understanding the loophole, queried further. "So, in wizarding communities, using magic isn't flagged by the trace?" "Exactly," Emma elaborated. "In such locations, the Ministry operates under the assumption that there's enough adult supervision to prevent misuse of magic, or that the magic being performed is a normal part of daily life. However, in Muggle settings, the trace generally attributes any detected magic to the closest underage magic user. This system discourages underage wizards from misusing magic in non-magical communities. They're allowed to travel with a Ministry official to prevent accidental detection. If not, they risk receiving a summons or a warning from the Ministry for unauthorized magic use." Harry took in this information, impressed by the complexity and efficacy of the Ministry's efforts to safeguard their world's secrecy. "It's quite the elaborate system. I had my doubts about the Ministry's competence, but this shows a level of diligence I didn't expect." "Indeed, but they have to," Emma confirmed with a smile. "Maintaining the statute of secrecy is all about ensuring we can coexist peacefully without bringing unnecessary disruption to either world." With this newfound understanding, Harry felt reassured about his immediate future in magic. Emma's insights reassured him that until he was under Hogwarts jurisdiction and had the trace placed upon him, he could freely practice magic within the confines of his magically shielded home without the Ministry's interference. This freedom was a welcome relief for Harry, eager to advance his magical skills in preparation for his future in the wider wizarding community. Chapter 35, The Initiation of Magical Study. After the discussion about the trace, another thing was added to his list of things that he needed to worry about in the future. Once he begins his magical education at Hogwarts or any other magical school, the trace will be placed on him, marking a significant shift in how freely he can practice magic outside the school's protective walls. The trace, Harry realized, would make his use of magic outside of Hogwarts much more noticeable to the Ministry of Magic. Even simple acts, such as traveling by apparition with others, could inadvertently give away his whereabouts. He pondered whether the use of house elf magic for travel would also trigger the trace, potentially limiting his ability to move freely without attracting attention. This newfound understanding provided Harry with clarity on why, in the stories he knew so well, the Order of the Phoenix had to devise complex methods to move Canon Harry between locations during his 5th and 7th years. The necessity to keep their operations and locations secret from the Ministry, even when it was under the control of allies, made every precaution necessary. During Harry's 6th year, the situation was somewhat alleviated, presumably thanks to Dumbledore's capabilities to mask such magical traces, allowing Harry a temporary reprieve from the Ministry's surveillance. Armed with this knowledge, Harry recognized he had a limited window to practice magic without restrictions. Once the trace was applied, he would need to seek ways to circumvent its limitations, either by removing it, rendering it ineffective, or by practicing in areas saturated with magic where the trace's effectiveness was diminished. This realization prompted Harry to start and intensify his magical studies at home. Since he did not have a wand, he turned his attention to wandless magic, hoping to surprise Emma and Cordelia with his progress. He knew obtaining a wand before the age of 11 would be challenging, as wand crafters were strict about their age policies. But Harry was determined to make the most of his time before he received the trace, and nothing was going to stop him from exploring the depths of his magical abilities. However, Harry's ambitious plans for mastering wandless magic were soon grounded in reality by insights gleaned from a book on magical theory from his library. The book, a comprehensive guide on the evolution of spellcasting, outlined a clear progression for wizards in harnessing their magical abilities. Initial stage: magic starts with the basics using a wand, saying spells out loud, understanding what the spell is meant to do, and focusing hard. Intermediate stage: with more experience, a wizard might start casting spells without speaking them out loud. Advanced stage: at this pinnacle of magical proficiency, a wizard could cast spells without any physical medium like a wand, directing their internal magic power straight to the intended target or effect. The book also emphasized the core of magic as the wizard's subjective consciousness and intent. These were the guiding forces that directed the magical power to achieve its intended purpose. From this, Harry understood that he couldn't leapfrog directly into wandless casting. Although historical accounts suggested that some wizards had attempted this reverse approach, they had invariably met with limited success. The book also highlighted that accidental magic, often seen in young witches and wizards, did not constitute true magic and hence was not wandless magic. While these unintentional outbursts were magical in nature, true spell casting required conscious intent and control. Harry, determined not to abandon his early practice of magic, turned the pages of his book in search of a solution that would allow him to practice magic safely and within the rules. His eyes lit up when he came across a chapter about training wands. These wands, the book explained, were designed for young witches and wizards, typically over the age of 7, to begin their magical education. The Ministry of Magic provided these training wands, which, while not as powerful as full-fledged wands, were perfect for practicing basic spells taught in the early years at Hogwarts. Training wands were tailored for beginners, making them an excellent option for Harry, who was just starting out. However, the book also highlighted some limitations. For instance, there was a daily limit on how many spells could be cast with these wands to prevent damage to their structure and to ensure the user's safety. Moreover, these wands weren't customized for their user, making some spells harder to cast due to the lack of a personal connection. Harry saw these limitations not as obstacles, but as challenges to overcome. The chance to start learning magic even if it was with a training wand was too good an opportunity to pass up. Convincing Cordelia to help him get one was the next step. At first, she was taken aback by Harry's request to begin his magical education early. However, recalling how well Harry had managed on his own over the past year, she agreed. She understood that the training wand, limited to casting only simple spells, posed no danger to Harry's well-being. Once Cordelia had acquired the training wand for Harry, he was thrilled. Holding the training wand, Harry felt a rush of excitement. This wand, though not as potent as the ones he'd eventually learned to wield at Hogwarts, was his key to unlocking the world of magic. With determination and a training wand in hand, Harry was ready to dive into his magical studies. He revisited his magical theory book, seeking guidance on the foundational principles of spellcasting. This wasn't just any book, it was a treasure trove of magical knowledge that opened up the world of spellcasting to him. Harry soaked up every word, fascinated by the depth and breadth of magical theory explained within its pages. The book emphasized the flexibility of magic, explaining that wizards have various methods of casting spells, not limited to the conventional wand movements and verbal incantations often depicted. However, this flexibility and ability to deviate from the norm would come with practice and a deep understanding of magical theory. One of the most intriguing insights Harry gained was the 3D principle of spell casting, which stands for direction, determination, and discipline. This principle said that for a spell to work, a wizard needed to have a clear goal, a lot of determination, and to stay calm. The book said that determination was the most important part. It was the push that made the magic do what the wizard wanted. This made a lot of sense to Harry. He could see how really wanting something to happen could make it more likely to happen. Spellcasting, the book went on to explain, involved 4 main parts: specific wand movements, correct incantations, subjective awareness, and concentration. Meaning doing the right wand movements, saying the spell the right way, knowing what the spell is supposed to do, and focusing hard. The text clarified that while advanced wizards, with their deeper control and understanding of magic, might bypass some of these components, beginners like Harry needed to adhere to these guidelines closely. These elements were aids to channel their nascent magical abilities effectively and safely. Knowing all this, Harry started to practice some simple spells. He tried to remember everything the book had said as he moved his training wand and spoke the spells. It was a bit awkward at first, trying to get everything right, but Harry was determined. He practiced in the peace and quiet of his home, far away from anyone who might see or hear. Day by day, spell by spell, Harry was laying the groundwork for his future as a wizard. With each correct spell, he felt a little more confident, a little more ready for whatever lay ahead in the magical world. Chapter 36, Echoes of the Past. October 31, 1984. Soon it was Hallows Eve again, a day shrouded in personal dread for Harry Potter. It marked the anniversary of the tragic night that irrevocably altered his life, leading to the loss of his beloved grandparents and, in a sense, his parents. While this same night had triggered the full awakening of his previous life's memories, Harry would have gladly foregone this quick release of memories if it meant more time with his grandparents. For 2 years, Harry had been unable to visit their graves, his heart aching with the distance and time lost. This year, however, he was determined to make the journey to Godric's Hollow, to stand where they rested, and to honor their memory. Though Emma had kindly offered to accompany him, Harry felt this visit was a journey he needed to undertake alone, or as alone as he could be with Myra, his devoted house elf, by his side. Myra, too, had loved Harry's grandparents and felt the loss deeply. As the sun began its rise behind the hills of Godric's Hollow, Harry Potter, with his face subtly altered using his newfound metamorphomagus ability, made his way through the quiet village. Godric's Hollow, named in honor of the legendary Godric Gryffindor, was steeped in magical heritage. Its quaint lanes and age-old dwellings whispered stories of a rich, mystical past. Harry, passing by the ancient homes, felt a deep connection to this place, a link to his roots and to the wizarding world's history. When Harry arrived at the remains of the Potter family home, the sight stopped him in his tracks. The house remained as it had been left on that fateful night, a poignant reminder of what had been lost. Though he yearned to step inside, to see the room where his life had been irrevocably changed, he knew it was impossible. Strong wards and protective spells, set up to deter the curious and the disrespectful, barred his way. Harry longed to breach these barriers, but he knew little about warding magic and understood the risk of tripping an alarm that could reveal his presence. Nearby, a war memorial stood as a testament to the sacrifices made during Voldemort's reign of terror. Harry was relieved to see the house itself hadn't been transformed into this memorial, preserving the privacy of his family's last moments. When Harry approached the memorial, it transformed before his eyes, revealing a statue of his grandparents. The resemblance was uncanny, his grandfather's untidy hair and glasses, his grandmother's gentle beauty. Harry had been unaware of the statue's existence until that moment, and its discovery stirred a complex mix of sorrow and pride within him. As he stood there, Harry found himself engulfed in thoughts of what might have been. The shadow of Voldemort's attack loomed large, a pivotal moment that had altered the course of his life. He pondered the possibility of a childhood spent within these walls, playing alongside his brother Charles, had darkness not descended upon them. Yet, considering the growing rift between his father and his grandparents over Dumbledore's influence, Harry wondered if he might have ended up living with his grandparents regardless, sharing their more independent views. With these reflections heavy on his mind, Harry moved on from the memorial to the village graveyard. The graveyard of Godric's Hollow was a somber place, its ancient tombstones standing as silent guardians of history. Among them were the graves of Kendra and Ariana Dumbledore, a mother and daughter bound by tragedy. Harry paused by their grave, reflecting on the stories he had read about them, about Ariana's untimely death and the shadow it cast over the Dumbledore family. He mused on how this event had forever changed Dumbledore, leaving Harry uncertain if it was for better or worse. Further along, he found the grave of Ignotus Peverell, a direct ancestor of his through his father's side. The Peverell name, intertwined with the legend of the Deathly Hallows, had always intrigued Harry. He was curious about the true nature of the Hallows, whether they were genuinely the creations of death or simply powerful magical artifacts crafted by the Peverell brothers. Harry knew he would eventually encounter these artifacts and was keen to explore their secrets firsthand. Upon reaching his grandparents' grave, Harry was struck by its similarity to the description of his parents' grave in the books. The inscription, "The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death," puzzled him. This biblical quote, placed on a wizard's grave, seemed out of place given the historical tension between the church and the wizarding community. It left Harry pondering the deeper meaning behind such a choice, who chose it, and what it might have meant to his grandparents. Standing there, surrounded by the echoes of the past, Harry's emotions were a complex tapestry of sadness, gratitude, and a renewed sense of purpose. Harry gently knelt by their graves, speaking so softly it was almost like he was whispering directly to his grandparents, hoping they could hear him somehow. "Grandma, Grandpa," he started, emotion making his voice quiver. "It's been too long. I've missed you so much. I wish I could have come to see you sooner. But I'm here now, and I've got so much to share." Harry paused, collecting his thoughts. "I've found a new family, of sorts. There's Emma Foster, she's like an elder sister to me. She's been accompanying me on a tour of the Muggle world, and it's been quite an adventure. And then there's Cordelia, she reminds me of you, Grandma. She's always looking out for my health and well-being." A small smile played on his lips as he continued. "Emma and Cordelia have helped me heal, both physically and emotionally. I'm stronger now, in more ways than one. I've even unlocked some hidden abilities with their help. I can change my appearance a bit, thanks to our Black family heritage. And I feel a strong connection to magic, something I inherited from you, Grandpa." Harry's expression turned more serious. "But there's something I need to tell you, something I've struggled with. I can't forgive Lily and James for what they did, for sending me away to that place. I won't let that change how I feel about Charles, though. He's just a kid, he didn't choose any of this. But I can't see us being a family. It would mean having to forgive them, and I can't do that. Still, I'll keep my promise to you, Grandma, to look out for him. His voice broke slightly as he apologized. I'm sorry I can't be the grandson you might have wanted in this aspect. But I'll do my best to honor your memory in other ways. I've already started my magical studies, and I'm determined to be well ahead of my peers by the time I go to Hogwarts. Harry took a deep breath, feeling a sense of peace wash over him. I miss you both so much. I wish you could see the person I'm becoming. I hope I'm making you proud. Standing up, Harry felt like he had left some of his burdens there by the graveside. Sharing his journey, his pain, and his triumphs with his grandparents had given him a sense of closure he didn't know he needed. Chapter 37, Unexpected Reunion. Harry, after sharing his heart at his grandparents' graves, was about to leave Godric's Hollow with Myra when suddenly, he heard someone call his name. Shocked and realizing his face had returned to its normal appearance during his emotional tribute, Harry was caught off guard. He had let his guard down, forgetting to maintain his disguise. As he turned around, expecting to quickly leave to avoid confrontation, he recognized the voice and paused. The person calling him was none other than Sirius Black, his godfather. Harry was in a dilemma, unsure whether to approach Sirius or to escape, especially since he wasn't sure if Sirius knew about the fact that he wasn't staying with the Dursleys or his supposed demise. Ever since the fateful night when Harry was taken away, Sirius had dedicated every spare moment to finding his godson, driven by relentless guilt and a desperate need to ensure Harry's safety. His search had been exhaustive, spanning every corner of the wizarding world and even venturing into Muggle areas. Sirius had scoured every possible lead. He tried to get hints from Lily's friends and even ventured into Muggle areas, hoping against hope to spot Harry. He questioned countless individuals, seeking any information that could lead him to Harry, but all his efforts seemed in vain. Sirius Black's dedication to finding Harry reached a critical moment 2 years back, on a day that should have been filled with celebration for Harry's 5th birthday. Instead, it marked the final rupture of Sirius's ties with his once close friends, particularly James Potter. At the Ministry of Magic, filled with a sliver of hope, Sirius approached James with a simple request, to deliver a birthday gift to Harry. James's refusal, coupled with his admission that they hadn't visited or checked on Harry for over a year, shocked Sirius to his core. For Sirius, James had been more than a friend, he was like a brother. The thought of Harry, alone and possibly neglected on his birthday, especially in the care of the Dursleys, a family known for their disdain for magic, was too much for Sirius to bear. James's indifference, based solely on Dumbledore's assurances, was incomprehensible and unforgivable to Sirius. The ensuing argument was intense and bitter. Sirius could no longer see himself reconciling with James and others who had seemingly abandoned Harry. His godson, whom he had promised to protect, was left in an environment similar to the one Sirius himself had desperately wanted to escape from in his youth. This realization deepened the sense of betrayal Sirius felt, transforming his anguish into a resolute determination to find Harry. Sirius's pilgrimage to Godric's Hollow on the anniversary of the Potters' deaths was part of this ongoing quest. Each year, he visited the graves, a ritual that kept his determination alive. He hoped, against all odds, to find some clue, some sign of Harry. This year, as he approached the graveyard, his heart heavy with memories and what-ifs, he spotted a young boy with an elf. Seeing the unusual sight of a boy with an elf leaving the graveyard, something clicked in Sirius's mind. Without thinking, Sirius called out, "Harry!" Hoping, yet not daring to believe. And to Sirius's astonishment, the boy stopped. Harry was unaware of Sirius's thorough search for him. His dilemma now was how to proceed, especially after Sirius had seen him alive. Harry couldn't just fight Sirius and make him forget what he saw. Stuck between running away or facing Sirius, Harry had to make a tough choice. Could he trust Sirius, the man who was supposed to be his godfather, not to betray him again? Despite his doubts, Harry chose to confront Sirius, needing to know where his loyalties lay. His secret of being alive was out, and the only way to fix things was to get Sirius to support him. "Sirius, don't come any closer, or I'll leave with Myra," Harry warned, his tone firm but filled with an undercurrent of uncertainty. Sirius, recognizing Harry and overwhelmed by emotion, stopped in his tracks. "Harry, it's me. I've missed you so much. I've been looking for you for years. I wanted to make sure you were safe," he said, his voice filled with a mix of happiness and sadness. Harry looked at Sirius with a mix of confusion and anger. "Safe? Sirius, I was far from safe. Can you tell me honestly, did you have a hand in me being sent away?" he asked, his voice betraying a hint of the bitterness he felt. Sirius's face fell as he realized the implications of Harry's words. Harry had not been happy and had escaped on his own. He was proud Harry had managed to escape the Dursleys on his own, but also sad because it meant Harry hadn't been happy. "Harry, I tried to fight against it. But no one would listen to me," Sirius admitted. Harry shot back, "But you were supposed to be my godfather. You should have fought harder." The regret was clear on Sirius's face. "I know, Harry, and I'm so sorry. I was outnumbered, and I didn't stand up as I should have. But I promise, from now on, I'll protect you. And you should know, I've cut ties with James and Dumbledore when I realized they weren't looking out for you. You don't have to worry about me taking you back to them." Harry thought over what Sirius had said. He always felt closer to Sirius than to James, maybe because of how Sirius was portrayed as fun-loving in the canon. Yet, in those tales, Sirius never seemed to fully grow up. Now, standing in front of Harry, Sirius appeared different, like he had matured in the years they'd been apart. It was clear something significant had changed him since Harry had been sent to live with the Dursleys. Despite this, Harry knew that trusting someone wasn't simple. "I'd like to trust you, Sirius," Harry said cautiously, "but I need to be certain. Your words alone aren't enough for me right now." Sirius nodded, understanding the wariness in Harry's eyes. He could wait, and it was good knowing that Harry had escaped those magic-hating people. "Harry, take all the time you need. Just know I'm here for you, whenever you're ready." Harry took a deep breath, weighing his options. "I'm going to go for now. I need to verify the things you've told me. I'll reach out to you through Myra after I've thought things over. And Sirius, make sure no one knows about this meeting. They might still think I'm dead, and I want to keep it that way for now." Sirius's eyes widened slightly, a realization dawning on him. "Of course, Harry. Your secret's safe with me." "But, what do you mean, everyone thinks you're—" Harry didn't elaborate, leaving the sentence hanging. "Just remember, keep this to yourself for now, Sirius. That's all I'm asking." With a final look at Sirius, Harry signaled to Myra, and in an instant, they disappeared, leaving Sirius alone with his thoughts. The meeting had opened old wounds but also rekindled a flicker of hope in his heart. As Sirius stood there, gazing at the spot where Harry had vanished, he made a silent vow to make amends, to be the godfather Harry deserved. The road to rebuilding their bond would be long and uncertain, but for Sirius, it was a journey worth taking. Chapter 38, Gathering Information. Harry, feeling all mixed up after running into Sirius, thought maybe Cordelia and Emma could help make sense of things. They might even find out if Sirius really wasn't on James and Dumbledore's side anymore. The next day, Harry showed up at Cordelia's place out of the blue, catching Emma in the middle of her studies. "Harry, this is a surprise. What brings you here today?" "It's not our usual meet-up day," Emma asked, her eyebrows arching in curiosity. Harry let out a heavy sigh, the memory of yesterday's meeting weighing on him. "I bumped into someone from before. Sirius Black, my godfather, when I was at Godric's Hollow." Emma's eyes widened with surprise. "Wow, that's unexpected. Go on, tell me all about it." Harry shared everything about the meet-up, his voice showing he was torn between doubt and a sliver of hope. "He says things are different now, that he's cut ties with James and Dumbledore. But I'm just not sure what to make of it." Cordelia, hearing the name Sirius Black, looked thoughtful. "Sirius Black, hey? That brings back memories. He was quite the mischief maker. Good for him he got away from Walburga and ended up with your grandma Euphemia. Let's sit down and sort through this." They all sat together while Harry explained the whole encounter, his voice filled with uncertainty and a bit of optimism. "He seemed honest, but can I really trust him? I can't just take his word for it." Cordelia gave him a kind look. "Trust isn't something you hand out easily, especially with everything you've been through. We should be careful but also consider the chance that people can change. Besides, it might be nice for you to have another adult around. It's not good for you to be so isolated." Emma, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. "Harry, why don't we find out more about Sirius's current situation? I have a friend who's quite connected in wizarding circles. She might know something. Emma moved to the Flow network, calling upon her friend Clara, a well-connected witch known for her insights into wizarding society. Clara's face appeared in the emerald flames, her expression brightening upon seeing Emma. Emma! What a pleasant surprise! Clara exclaimed, her face lighting up. To what do I owe this call? Emma exchanged pleasantries with Clara, her tone casual yet probing. Clara, you always have the latest news. What's the word on Sirius Black these days? Clara leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. Oh, Sirius? He's been the talk of the town. Rumor has it he's in a relationship. Can you believe it? Sirius Black, the eternal bachelor. Emma, trying to steer the conversation, asked, what about his relationship with James Potter? Any news there? Clara's expression turned more serious. That's been quite the story. They were like brothers, but after you-know-who's downfall, for some unknown reason, things changed dramatically. They barely speak now, and when they do, it's far from friendly. As Clara delved into the details of Sirius's estrangement from James and Dumbledore, Emma listened intently, gauging each piece of information. Clara described how Sirius had shifted his alliances, moving closer to influential pureblood families and stepping away from Dumbledore's influence. After thanking Clara and engaging in a bit more chit-chat, Emma ended the flow call. She turned to Harry, who had been listening with a mix of relief and contemplation. It looks like Sirius has really changed. He's distanced himself from the people and things he once held dear. Cordelia, who had overheard the conversation, chimed in. It's not uncommon for someone to change allegiances, especially under the influence of a family head like Lord Black. I think he most likely reached out to Sirius after the split with Dumbledore. Perhaps Sirius is finally stepping into his role as the Black family heir. Harry nodded, absorbing their insights. I need to meet him again. I have questions that only he can answer. But I can't just blindly trust anyone after that night. I have learned my lesson. Determined, Harry took pen to parchment, composing a letter with a gravity that belied his physical age. He was inviting Sirius to a secluded meeting in a Muggle park, a place where their magical world rarely intersected. The words on the paper were cautious yet inviting, a careful balance of hope and the wariness that life had taught him. Once completed, Cordelia, understanding the significance of this correspondence, provided an owl to ensure its safe delivery. With the letter complete, Harry felt a surge of apprehension mixed with hope. He watched as the owl took flight, disappearing into the dusk sky, carrying with it a message that might alter the course of his relationship with his godfather. Just as a precaution, he did not send the letter through Myra. It was quicker, but Harry could use the time to sort his thoughts out. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of mixed emotions for Harry. He found himself oscillating between doubt and the faint hope that this meeting might shed light on the enigmatic figure that was Sirius Black. Cordelia and Emma tried to offer words of comfort and reassurance. No matter what happens, Harry, you're not alone in this, Emma said, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. Cordelia added, and remember, Harry, people can change. It's possible that Sirius genuinely wants to make amends. That night, Harry found sleep elusive, his mind replaying the possible outcomes of the meeting. He was torn between the longing to reconnect with a part of his past and the fear of being hurt again. The following day, a response arrived. Sirius's letter was brief, agreeing to the meeting and promising to come alone. The handwriting was shaky, betraying Sirius's emotional state. Harry held the letter in his hands, a sense of determination settling over him. This is it, Harry murmured to himself. Tomorrow, I might finally get some answers. Emma, ever the supportive friend, reassured him, we'll be there with you, Harry. You're not facing this alone. As they planned for the meeting, discussing every possible scenario, Harry felt a sense of resolve. This was a chance to confront his past and perhaps forge a new path forward. With Sirius's agreement in hand, Harry steeled himself for what was to come. Chapter 39, The Meeting at the Park. As Harry and Emma made their way through the crisp morning air towards their rendezvous point in the park, the anticipation was palpable. Their steps were measured, and each lost in thought about the impending meeting with Sirius Black. Harry's mind was a whirlwind of emotions: curiosity, apprehension, and a sliver of hope. Upon arriving, they spotted Sirius sitting alone on a secluded bench, his posture betraying a mix of nervousness and eagerness. Drawing closer, Harry could see the raw emotion on Sirius's face, a mixture of joy and trepidation upon seeing him. "Harry, it's been too long. How have you been?" Sirius greeted him, his voice laden with a myriad of unspoken feelings. His eyes briefly shifted to Emma. "And who's this?" "This is Emma, a close friend and a healer in training," Harry introduced her briefly, his tone still guarded. Sirius's brow furrowed in confusion. "Healer? Harry, how did you meet an independent healer? They are quite rare." Harry paused, knowing this conversation could lead anywhere. "We'll talk about that later. First, I need to know why everything happened the way it did after Voldemort attacked." Sirius nodded solemnly, aware of the weight behind Harry's words. He asked Harry's permission before taking his wand out and setting up a privacy dome. He did not want the things said here to leak. After Voldemort was defeated, Dumbledore suggested new security measures. The Fidelius's charm failed twice, so they needed a new plan. But this new warding could only protect 3 people. James and Lily, after some hesitation, thought that Charles, being the one the prophecy said would beat Voldemort, should get the most protection. There was this prophecy made a few years before that night, you see, saying someone would become the equal of Voldemort and the end of him. I don't know the exact wording, but Dumbledore thinks that person is Charles. You were sent away because of these warding limitations, so they could focus on keeping Charles safe and help him train for his destiny. Harry's expression hardened. That's it? Voldemort was gone. There was no immediate danger, especially with his followers locked up. Why was I sent away? Couldn't they have just used normal protections? And why didn't you do anything to stop them? Sirius looked down, struggling with his guilt. I tried, Harry. I really did. But they were convinced it was the best way to keep Charles safe. They thought they were doing the right thing for the prophecy, but I couldn't change their minds. I wanted to keep you with me, but Dumbledore said I was too much of a target. They wouldn't listen. I didn't agree with any of it. But why the Dursleys? Couldn't I have stayed with any other wizard family? Harry pressed, his voice tinged with bitterness. Sirius let out a heavy sigh, explaining the deeper strategy at play. Dumbledore convinced your parents that Charles was destined for great things. He said that would need Charles to be the Potter heir and gain all the protections that come with it. Dumbledore decided to send you to the Muggle world just for Charles to gain the Potter heirship over you. They thought if you didn't know about our world or the Potter family's history, the heir's ring would reject you, making Charles the rightful heir. This was all planned by Dumbledore to shield Charles from Voldemort's followers who still had power in the Ministry. Hearing this, Harry felt a cold silence envelop him, struggling to grasp the deliberate choices that had dictated his life. Emma, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. So, this is why Harry's memory was blocked. Sirius looked at her, shocked. Memory block. Gathering his strength, Harry shared a piece of his painful journey. Life's been tough, Sirius. If it weren't for a brush with death and being saved by Emma's mentor, I might not have made it. Hearing this, Sirius's voice trembled with regret. I'm so sorry, Harry. I should have done more. I've lived with that regret every day. Harry needed a moment to let everything sink in. I have to think about all this, Sirius. Let's move on to a happier topic. I've noticed you've changed a lot since the last time we met. You're not the same Sirius who stood by James and Dumbledore. Tell me, what's been happening with you since you left them? Harry then listened intently as Sirius unfolded his story, detailing the journey that led him to his current path. After the fallout with James and Dumbledore, Sirius found himself at a crossroads. Going back to his mother's home, a place teeming with unpleasant memories, was out of the question. Instead, he threw himself into his duties as an Auror, trying to find solace in his work amidst the chaos left by the war. This life of solitude and dedication was interrupted when Sirius received a letter from his grandfather, Lord Arcturus Black. Sirius had always held a certain respect for Lord Black, separate from the disdain he felt towards other members of his family. This respect was partly influenced by Harry's grandfather, who often spoke highly of Lord Black during Sirius's time with the Potters. Curious and with nothing to lose, Sirius decided to meet with his grandfather at the family's true ancestral home, the Black Castle, far from the dark and dreary house in London. The meeting was a turning point for Sirius. Lord Black, with his imposing presence and strict demeanour, interrogated Sirius about every decision he had made since leaving home. During their conversation, Lord Black expressed his concerns about the Black family's future, especially after the death of Sirius's brother, Regulus. He saw the rift between Sirius and Dumbledore as an opportunity, a chance for Sirius to embrace his role in the Black family. Sirius was introduced to the real ethos of the Black family, a revelation that challenged his preconceived notions. Contrary to the fanaticism of some of his cousins, the core Black family held values that, while aligned with the dark arts, were not inherently evil. This was exemplified by the marriage between a Potter and a Black. Since then, Sirius had been living with Lord Black, learning about the family's true history and politics. He gained a new perspective on Dumbledore, understanding the manipulative streak that his grandfather often warned him about. Thinking of what had happened to Harry only reinforced these views. Sirius's focus shifted towards politics. He began to align himself with neutral families like the Green Grasses, distancing himself from those staunchly supporting Dumbledore. He utilized his position as an Auror and the resources of Lord Black to search for Harry, driven by a desire to make amends and reconnect with his godson. As Sirius finished his tale, Harry felt his anger soften, replaced by a cautious empathy. Sirius's transformation and efforts painted a picture of a man seeking redemption and understanding. Harry finally spoke, his voice cautious but open. "You've changed, Sirius. I can see that. I'm willing to try and rebuild something here, but we'll need time." Sirius nodded, a look of resolve etched on his face. "I understand, Harry. I just want the opportunity to be part of your life again, to be the godfather you deserve." With a newfound sense of closure, Harry and Emma left the park, their minds heavy with the day's revelations. The path to reconciliation was long and uncertain, but for Harry, it was a journey he was now willing to embark upon. Chapter 40, Harry's Martial Arts Journey. After his encounter with Sirius Black in Godric's Hollow, Harry Potter's life began to incorporate new routines. In addition to his regular visits to Cordelia and adventures with Emma, Harry started meeting Sirius at the same park once a week. These meetings were Harry's way of slowly rebuilding the bridge of trust between them. He was convinced Sirius hadn't played a part in sending him to live with the Dursleys, but fully trusting him again was a process that would take time. He did not know if the now changed Sirius had any ulterior motives. The betrayals by Dumbledore and his parents had deeply affected Harry, making him wary of placing his trust in others too quickly. As the weeks turned into months, Harry felt a strong urge to start learning self-defense. His body had become stronger and more agile thanks to his previous year of physical conditioning and the transformative effects of the purification ritual. To balance his newfound physical capabilities, Harry decided it was time to add martial arts to his repertoire. He believed that learning how to defend himself in non-magical situations would not only be practical but would also enhance his agility and speed, which were vital in magical combat. Harry's preference leaned towards Jiu-Jitsu or Muay Thai, having heard of their practical applications in real-life situations. However, finding a dojo in London that taught these specific martial arts proved challenging. His options were narrowed down to Judo, Karate, and Kung Fu. After some deliberation, Harry opted for Kung Fu. Inspired by Bruce Lee's films he had rewatched with Emma, he felt that Kung Fu's fluid movements and emphasis on technique would lay a solid foundation for his martial arts training. He reasoned that he could always explore other styles later on if needed. Upon recommendation from Ethan, his fitness trainer, Harry visited a reputable Kung Fu dojo known for its authenticity. Though not that authentic since it adopted the karate system of colored belts for rankings, it was regarded as one of the best in London. For the admission formalities, Sirius accompanied him. Sirius, being an Auror, possessed basic self-defense skills and was curious about the level of combat proficiency of Muggle self-defense experts. At the dojo, Harry and Sirius were greeted by the sensei, a master in Kung Fu who claimed to have trained in China with years of experience. The dojo was a place filled with respect and discipline, decorated with Chinese calligraphy and photos of old martial arts legends that Harry knew nothing about. At the dojo, Sirius stepped forward for a demonstration match against one of the younger trainees, eager to test the waters of Muggle martial arts firsthand. Despite having a fair bit of experience in physical combat from his Auror training, Sirius quickly found out that his magical battles hadn't prepared him for the stamina needed in a martial arts duel. The young apprentice, quick and adept, managed to evade all of Sirius's attempts to land a hit. Before long, Sirius found himself out of breath, and with a swift move, the apprentice took the opportunity to gently take Sirius down. Harry watched the match with a sharp eye, taking mental notes of the apprentice's techniques and the fluidity of Kung Fu movements. Even though Sirius got up with a slight hit to his ego, he couldn't help but admit to Harry that there was real merit in learning Muggle martial arts, especially seeing them in action. Encouraged by what he saw, Harry formally enrolled in the dojo. His training began with the basics, stances, punches, and kicks, each movement precise and purposeful. The dojo taught more than just fighting, it introduced Harry to the philosophy behind Kung Fu. It talked about achieving a balance between the mind and the body and the importance of being patient and persevering through challenges. Seeing Harry's enthusiasm and recognizing an opportunity to strengthen their bond, Sirius decided to join the dojo as well. It wasn't just about learning to defend himself without magic for Sirius, it was about spending quality time with Harry and improving his own physical conditioning. As Harry got more involved in his Kung Fu training, he started feeling a deep sense of calm and focus. This wasn't just exercise, it was a way to discipline his mind, something that he found surprisingly helpful in his magical studies as well. The lessons at the dojo, focusing on precision, discipline, and control, weren't just making him a better martial artist, they were shaping him to be a more disciplined wizard. Every kick and punch, every new move he mastered, not only built up his physical strength but also fortified his mental resilience and control, essential traits for anyone delving deep into the magical arts. Harry's daily routine had evolved into a blend of strict discipline and eager learning. He hadn't given up on practicing magic, instead, he dedicated a large part of each day to getting better at spells. He quickly got the hang of basic spells that Hogwarts students learn, like Wingardium Leviosa for levitating objects, Lumos to light up the tip of his wand, Nox to turn it off, Alohomora to unlock doors, Expelliarmus to disarm opponents, Rictus Sempra for tickling, Engorgo to enlarge objects, and Reductio to shrink them. Harry's goal was to be able to cast these spells silently and, eventually, without even needing his wand. Every day started with a run in the early morning, a routine that energized him for the day's tasks. After that, Myra would take him close to the dojo for his Kung Fu classes with other students. Returning home, he devoted his afternoons to magical practice, channeling his energy into perfecting each spell's wand movements and incantations. In the evening, after some strength training at the gym, he'd have another magic practice session. This busy schedule was only interrupted by his weekly outings with Emma. They'd expanded their adventures to include movie theater visits, where Harry could relax and enjoy films he hadn't seen in his previous life, a welcome distraction from his intensive training regimen. All the physical training was done under the watch of his experienced trainer, Ethan, who ensured that the amount of exercise was appropriate for his age. Any minor injuries he picked up were quickly healed with magic, preventing long-term issues. Sirius had become a steady presence in Harry's life, joining him for Kung Fu training whenever he could. These sessions didn't just boost their physical fitness, they also strengthened their relationship. Harry, now more open and trusting, confided in Sirius the harrowing details of his life at the Dursleys, his near-death experience, and the reason Dumbledore likely believed he was dead. This honesty brought them closer, healing old wounds and building a strong godfather-godson bond. As he balanced the magical and mundane, Harry Potter was carving out his own unique path, supported by the new family and friends he'd found, all while nurturing a renewed sense of purpose. Chapter 41, Lord Arcturus Black. May 1985. In the second week of May, Harry Potter faced a significant moment in his life. After 6 months of rigorous training, both physically and magically, Harry had grown impressively strong. He was now capable of handling opponents twice his age in both magical duels and hand-to-hand combat with ease. His time spent at the dojo and his steadfast commitment to his magical studies had shaped him into a young wizard of notable skill and power. During this period of growth and learning, Sirius Black brought an interesting offer to Harry's attention. "Harry, my grandfather, Lord Arcturus Black, would like to meet you. How do you feel about that?" Harry wasn't surprised by the suggestion. He had previously given Sirius the okay to tell Lord Black about him. Harry understood that the clever patriarch of the Black family would figure out his existence soon enough, especially since Sirius, who lived with Lord Black, was visibly happier and no longer consumed by his search for Harry. Harry's decision to let Sirius share the news of his survival with Lord Black was driven by a strategic thought process. He recognized that their shared skepticism of Dumbledore's actions would ensure his secret remained safe. More so, Harry was curious about learning more about the wizarding world and the Ministry of Magic from someone as knowledgeable as Lord Black. He also harbored a hope that Lord Black, being Sirius's grandfather and also Harry's great-granduncle through his great-grandmother Doria Potter née Black, would genuinely care for his well-being. Harry had experienced betrayal from his own parents, but he held on to the hope that Lord Black, who was respected by Harry's own grandfather, would prove to be a trustworthy and wise figure in his life. "He wants to meet you, Harry. But he's clear that it's at your convenience," Sirius added. The prospect of meeting the patriarch of the Black family was daunting, but seeing the chance to meet the feared wizard, Harry decided to go ahead with the meeting. On the appointed day, Sirius used sight-along apparition to bring Harry to the impressive Black family castle. Hidden away on a secluded island and surrounded by thick forest, the castle stood as a grand testament to the Black family's legacy, far more imposing than the Potter manor Harry remembered. Upon arrival, they were welcomed by Varde, a house elf who served the Black family. Dressed more like a butler than a typical house elf, Varde's refined manner added to the grandeur of the Black family estate. Varde's presence and mannerisms further elevated Harry's impression of Arcturus Black. "Master Black is waiting for you. Please follow me," Varde instructed, guiding them through the castle's luxurious interiors. As Harry and Sirius followed Varde deeper into the castle, Harry was struck by its splendor. The hallways were filled with artifacts and portraits, telling the story of the Black family's prominence and magic. Unlike the animated portraits at Hogwarts, these were still, yet Harry knew the Black family should also have their share of magical portraits elsewhere in the castle. When they reached Lord Black's study, Harry felt a mix of disappointment and curiosity. He had hoped to explore more of the castle, intrigued by its secrets and history. But the meeting with Lord Black quickly drew his focus. Lord Arcturus Black, an elderly man with an aura of wisdom and strength, welcomed Harry warmly. "Welcome, Mr. Potter, to the Black Castle. I am pleased to finally meet you." Harry, slightly awed by the presence of his great-granduncle, replied, "Thank you for having me, Lord Black. It's an honor to meet you." As they sat in the study, Lord Black's keen eyes surveyed Harry, noting the young wizard's evident magical strength and physical prowess. "You've developed a commendable physique, Harry," Lord Black observed, a note of respect in his voice. "And I see you've influenced Sirius in this regard as well. It's heartening. In my younger days, we held physical prowess in high esteem, alongside magical capability. It's unfortunate that many in the wizarding world today overlook the importance of physical strength, especially in the context of battles." Harry humbly replied, "I felt it was necessary to overcome the challenges I faced. Being active and training regularly has become an integral part of my life. The benefits were too significant to ignore." Lord Black nodded approvingly. "Good. Your determination and resilience remind me of your great-grandparents, Charles and Doria. You share Charles's pursuit of strength and Doria's bravery. They would have been immensely proud to see the kind of person you're becoming." Harry's face brightened when he heard about his great-grandmother. "My grandpa always told me such incredible stories about them. They were so fantastical I sometimes thought they were just making them up. I really wish I'd had the chance to meet them." Lord Black, reminiscing, allowed a soft smile to grace his features. "Your grandparents truly were remarkable people. Your grandfather had a fearsome reputation, few dared to cross him. And your grandmother, she was exceptionally skilled in potions, a talent neither I nor Charles possessed. She bravely fought for her love for Charles, despite our family's dark reputation and the Potters' noble standing. Their story is one for the ages. I'll share more with you next time." The topics of their discussion varied, with Lord Black imparting his vast knowledge of the wizarding world and expressing his viewpoints, especially concerning Dumbledore's actions and decisions. As their meeting drew to a close, Lord Black extended a heartfelt offer of support. "You're part of the Black family, Harry. Our home is open to you whenever you need refuge or assistance." Feeling a deep sense of safety and belonging that he hadn't experienced in a long time, Harry promised to visit again. The conversation with Lord Black had been enlightening and comforting, offering him insights into his heritage and a respite from his worries. With Lord Black's support, he felt less troubled by the thought of facing Dumbledore's schemes. "I'll definitely come back, Grandpa Black," Harry promised with newfound affection as they said their goodbyes. Their bond had deepened significantly during this meeting. Upon leaving, Sirius, who had respectfully allowed Harry to lead the conversation, expressed his pride. "You made quite the impression, Harry. I'm proud of you." A smile graced Harry's lips, reflecting his growing sense of kinship. "Thank you, Sirius. It feels good to connect with my roots." As they departed from the Black Castle, Harry realized the significance of this newfound connection. The visit to the Black Castle had not only revealed more about his family history but also provided a sanctuary where he felt supported. It was a pivotal moment in Harry's journey, one that brought peace to his often turbulent life. Chapter 42, Legacy of the Potters Part 1. Over the next few weeks, Harry found himself visiting Black Castle often. He was fascinated by its mysteries and enjoyed exploring both the castle and the island. Today was particularly exciting for Harry because Lord Black had promised to share stories about his grandparents, especially his great-grandfather, Charles Potter, a man surrounded by intrigue. Sirius was absent from the castle that day. His duties as an Auror, those challenging and dangerous tasks that he performed to maintain the peace and security of the wizarding world, had called him away. Lord Black, prepared to delve into the story of Charles Potter, after whom Harry's younger brother was named, invited Harry into a lavishly decorated room. This room, filled with artifacts from the past, seemed to echo with centuries of history. They settled into ornate chairs, and Lord Black began his narrative, giving life to the tale of Charles Potter. Charles, your great-grandfather, and I shared our formative years within the hallowed halls of Hogwarts, Arcturus began, his voice a blend of nostalgia and respect. He was a proud Gryffindor, through and through, while I, as fate would have it, was sorted into Slytherin. Our paths, seemingly divided by the deep-seated loyalties of our respective houses, rarely intersected in those days. Charles was a unique individual, markedly different from the Potters I had been cautioned about in my youth. He did not carry the air of arrogance or boastfulness that was often attributed to your family. Instead, he was genuinely intelligent and had a natural affinity for magic, which seemed as effortless to him as breathing. Sometimes, I questioned whether Gryffindor was truly the right house for him, given his complex nature, Lord Black continued, his voice tinged with admiration. Harry listened intently, finding this new insight into his family both intriguing and refreshing. It painted a picture of his great-grandfather that was in stark contrast to the brash, bold figures that had often been described in his family's history. Charles was admired and envied by many for his magical talent, Lord Black went on, his voice filled with the depth of years gone by. He wasn't just a duelist, Harry, he was a warrior in the truest sense. Taught not merely to duel but to fight. His proficiency with a wand was born not of traditional dueling lessons, but of rigorous combat training under his father's guidance. Imagine, Harry, Charles was so skilled that even Albus Dumbledore, known as a pinnacle of magical ability in magical Britain, would think twice before dueling him. The very thought of such a confrontation is something that I often mused about, Lord Black shared, lost in thought. Harry was amazed. The thought that his great-grandfather could have matched Dumbledore in magic was both shocking and inspiring. Even though Harry had his issues with Dumbledore, he recognized the wizard's renowned power. Lord Black's story went on, bringing the past to life with tales of Hogwarts, a place of fierce house rivalries yet where these didn't always prevent friendships. We didn't cross paths often, but when we did, it was unforgettable. We were in some classes together and faced off in school dueling contests. I must admit, with no small amount of respect, that Charles made me, a wizard of considerable skill in my own right, appear amateurish in comparison. Harry felt a deep sense of pride swelling within him as he listened to the stories of his great-grandfather's courage and skill. This connection was a rare feeling for Harry, who had lived another life before being reborn. Over time, he had embraced his identity as Harry Potter, the memories of his previous existence fading into the background. The memories of past life just remained to act as a guide for his new one. Lord Black, his face softening with a hint of a smile, reminisced about those days long gone. We were not friends in the conventional sense, but there was a mutual respect that transcended the boundaries of our houses. Our interactions were often limited to passing greetings in the corridors of Hogwarts, yet those brief moments were marked by a sense of mutual understanding and regard. The sound of the ancient clock chiming in the background of Black Castle lent a timeless quality to the atmosphere as Lord Black shared more about his and Charles's shared history at Hogwarts. It was in our 5th year when our paths truly intersected in an event that would forever alter the course of our lives, he continued, his voice gaining weight as he delved into the memory. Arcturus leaned forward, his eyes reflecting the intensity of the tale he was about to unfold. An incident involving Doria Black, my beloved sister, was the catalyst. On that fateful day, Doria found herself unwittingly cornered by a group of rather malevolent 7th-year Slytherins. Their intentions were less than honorable, and it seemed as though she had no escape. Harry listened, his interest piquing as Arcturus delved into this dramatic encounter. It was Charles, brave and valiant Charles, who emerged as her unexpected savior. His arrival was timely and his intervention was nothing short of heroic. The display of magical skill and sheer bravery he exhibited that day not only earned my deepest respect but also sparked something special between him and Doria. Arcturus's voice took on a softer tone as he recounted the blossoming relationship between his sister and Charles Potter, a union that was, in many ways, a defiance of the societal norms of their time. Their relationship, though looked upon with disapproval and skepticism by many, grew stronger with each day that passed. My attempts to dissuade them, to protect our family's reputation, proved to be in vain. Doria was as headstrong and determined as Charles, and their bond seemed unbreakable, forged in the fires of adversity and mutual admiration. Arcturus's voice held a note of admiration, tinged with the wisdom of hindsight, as he recounted the years that followed their graduation from Hogwarts. Charles joined the dueling circuit after Hogwarts, and his fame there rose meteorically. His victories were not mere wins, they were a testament to his extraordinary prowess. Every duel was a spectacle, a display of his mastery over magic that told its own story. As Lord Black shared more, the room seemed to become smaller, as though the walls themselves were leaning in to listen to the history being told. The rise of the dark wizard Grindelwald cast a long, ominous shadow over our world, threatening the peace and safety we had known. Charles stood firm against those who rallied under Grindelwald's sinister banner. Stories of Charles's bravery spread far and wide, his magic a light in the darkness that Grindelwald was trying to spread. Arcturus paused, lost for a moment in thoughts of those difficult times. I, as the heir to the Black family, chose a path of neutrality, a stance that seemed most befitting at the time. Yet, deep within, I couldn't help but admire Charles's unwavering resolve and courage in the face of such overwhelming odds. He sighed deeply, the weight of the past evident in his expression. The war, though it remained largely unofficial, claimed many lives. My father was one of its numerous victims, falling in a skirmish that echoed the larger conflict. Charles's father, fueled by a determined resolve to confront Grindelwald, met a tragic end. This loss only served to deepen Charles's commitment to the cause, to actively engage in the war against darkness. Arcturus's pause allowed the magnitude of the war and its impact on both their families to truly sink in. Charles's involvement in the war deepened with each passing day. He was not merely a participant, he became a leader, his magic a living testament to your family's enduring legacy. Harry sat, utterly captivated by the tales of his great-grandfather, a man whose life was an intricate tapestry woven from threads of bravery, love, and defiance against the forces of darkness. In those turbulent times, Charles Potter was more than just a wizard, he emerged as a symbol of hope, an embodiment of the courage and resilience that defines your family, Arcturus concluded, a note of pride in his voice. Chapter 43, Legacy of the Potters Part 2. Arcturus sat back, the chair creaking slightly under his weight. The light from the fire in the room danced in his eyes, making them shine with a mix of warmth and deep memories. I had to engage in the war incognito, Harry, he began, his voice a mix of solemnity and a hint of regret. The Black family name carried certain expectations, a legacy that many thought would side us with Grindelwald. But my conscience, my very sense of right and wrong, wouldn't allow it. So, I fought hidden behind the mask of an unspeakable, facing dark wizards without revealing who I was. I distinctly remember the day I saw Charles on the battlefield for the very first time, Arcturus continued, his voice taking on a tone of admiration and respect. Charles was a sight to behold. He was formidable, an unyielding force against the dark wizards. His courage was not just evident, it was inspiring, instilling hope and bravery even in the most frightened of soldiers. As Arcturus delved deeper into his recollections, the tale took a darker, more ominous turn. Then, on one particularly harrowing day, I found myself unlucky, face to face with Grindelwald himself. The sheer aura of his dark magic was suffocating, overwhelming. Standing before him, I knew that I stood no chance against such formidable power. Harry could almost feel the palpable despair and fear that must have gripped Arcturus in that moment of reckoning. But then, as if ordained by fate, Charles appeared. He was like a beacon of hope amidst the encompassing darkness. Charles showed up just in time to save me, much like he did with Doria back at Hogwarts. It's as if destiny chose him to be our guardian. He joined me and engaged Grindelwald in a fierce duel. His magic was a whirlwind of power and precision, a true testament to his skill. Arcturus's voice trembled slightly as if the intensity of that battle was being relived in his mind's eye. The duel was nothing short of epic. As it raged on, Grindelwald, in a fit of uncontrollable rage, cast a vile, life-threatening curse towards me. I was unable to evade it in time. Arcturus paused, his face clouded by the painful memory. There I was, on the ground, in pain like I've never known. Harry could almost see it, Arcturus helpless, Charles battling the dark wizard fiercely. But Charles, recognizing me despite my disguise, did something remarkable. He risked everything. With a swift movement, he swooped in, shielding me from further attacks. Together, we retreated from the battlefield, narrowly escaping the clutches of death. Arcturus's expression softened a rare glimpse into the emotions of a man who had seen and lived through so much. That singular act of bravery, of selflessness, changed everything for me. It was then that I truly understood the depth of Charles Potter's character. It was in the flames and chaos of that battle that our friendship was forged, a bond that was shaped and tempered by the very fires of war. As the embers in the grand fireplace of Black Castle glowed softly, casting a warm, flickering light across the ancient room, Lord Arcturus Black continued to weave the captivating story of Charles Potter. The narrative now progressed to a pivotal chapter in Charles's life, one marked by both love and defiance. The war, during a brief lull when Grindelwald shifted his malevolent focus towards Macusa and the German ministry, seemed to slow down, giving us a brief respite from its relentless pace. Arcturus began, his voice tinged with a hint of nostalgia. It was during these quieter years, amidst a world still teetering on the brink of chaos, that Charles and Doria Black chose to unite their lives in marriage. Their union was more than a mere joining of two souls, it was a silent rebellion, a stand against the prevailing norms of our society. Their love was a beacon of light in the midst of the surrounding darkness, he said, a note of pride unmistakable in his voice. Arcturus's gaze seemed to drift to a distant memory as he spoke. During this time, they were also blessed with the birth of Fleamont, your grandfather. It was a period marked by sporadic skirmishes with Grindelwald's forces, but nothing that could overpower the indomitable spirit of Charles. The narrative then shifted, the tone growing heavier as Arcturus recounted the supposed end of the war. The first news of Dumbledore's victory over Grindelwald brought a wave of joy and relief. But this was short-lived. We soon learned of Grindelwald's escape. The rumor was Dumbledore allowed it, unable to sever their past ties. It was a betrayal, a stark reminder of the sacrifices of those who had fought and fallen. This event turned many old wizarding families against Dumbledore. Since then, our trust in him has never been the same. Arcturus's tone was heavy with disappointment. The war intensified once again, and yet, Dumbledore hesitated to confront his former ally. He remained secluded in Hogwarts, even as the situation outside worsened. Arcturus's voice grew heavy with disdain as he continued. Charles, however, couldn't stand idle amidst this turmoil. He took it upon himself to face Grindelwald. Their battles were the stuff of legend, each more perilous and taxing than the last. Charles was pushed to his limits, his magical prowess and courage tested at every turn. Harry listened, his admiration for Charles Potter swelling with each word. But fate can be cruel, Arcturus added, his voice lowering. Grindelwald, recognizing Charles's growing strength, decided to eliminate him. In a moment filled with deceit, during a chaotic battle, Grindelwald disguised himself and struck Charles with a devastating curse. The attack caught Charles completely off guard. The aftermath of the curse was both tragic and profound. Though Charles survived, he was irrevocably changed. The curse left him with deep wounds that never fully healed. His days as a warrior, a defender of the light, were over. Arcturus's voice was thick with sorrow, echoing the pain of a bygone era. Harry felt a deep pang of grief for the great-grandfather he never knew, a man whose life was a testament to unparalleled courage and sacrifice. After many years, Dumbledore finally stepped forward to defeat Grindelwald, but the victory came at a high price. Many heroes fell during those dark days. Charles lived on, but he was a shadow of his former self, burdened by the curse's lingering effects. Doria, his heartbroken partner, passed away not long after, leaving a legacy of love and loss. The room fell into a solemn silence, the weight of the story hanging heavily in the air. Harry pondered the sacrifices and struggles of his ancestors, their lives indelibly marked by war, defiance, and resilience. Arcturus concluded with a sense of profound respect, your great-grandfather, Harry, was more than just a wizard. He was a symbol of resilience, a beacon of hope during our darkest times. Chapter 44, Changes in Mindset. The evening at Black Castle was calm, yet Harry Potter's mind was anything but. He had come seeking stories about his great-grandfather, Charles Potter, hoping to connect deeper with his family's past. Instead, he discovered truths that shifted his whole outlook on his role in the magical world. Before this visit, Harry's main goal in this life was simple: beat Voldemort and get strong enough to protect his loved ones from any danger. He hadn't thought much about taking on a bigger role in the wizarding world or becoming a leader. He was content with the idea of hiding away, safe from the larger battles of the magical community. However, Lord Arcturus Black's stories about the Potters changed Harry's mindset. He was no longer just a person who had been reborn into this magical world, he was the scion of a powerful and respected wizarding family. It became increasingly clear that his destiny was intertwined with the broader narrative of the magical community. He wasn't merely a bystander or a reluctant participant, he was, by birth and by blood, destined to play a central role in the unfolding drama of the wizarding world. This realization sparked a new ambition in Harry. He saw that his destiny was linked to much more than his personal battles. The wizarding world, with its deep fissures and looming threats, would inevitably look to a Potter to guide them through turmoil and conflict. The idea of living a quiet life away from it all suddenly seemed impossible unless he escaped like a coward. This epiphany brought with it a sense of clarity. Harry's previous dreams, like making a big name for himself in the non-magical world, of building business empires that rivaled the likes of Google or Tesla, felt less urgent now. Those ambitions, while undoubtedly under his reach, didn't disappear, they just felt smaller compared to the responsibility he now felt towards the magical community. If they happened anyway through Harry's actions in the future, he would be happy, but they were not his focus now. Harry's new resolve was about more than restoring his family's name. He wanted to be someone like Charles Potter. He wanted to lead the wizarding world through its eventual challenges with dark wizards and the Muggle world and make a real difference. He imagined a future where the Potters were known not just for their power but for bringing hope and unity to a world teetering on the brink of disaster. This newfound ambition was a flame that burned bright within Harry. His heart, once torn between the Muggle world, which was similar to that of his past life, and the world of his lineage, now beat firmly for the wizarding world. In that moment, surrounded by the history of Black Castle, Harry fully accepted his destiny. He wanted to make a lasting impact on the magical world, following in the footsteps of his great-grandfather Charles Potter. Harry, filled with a newfound sense of purpose, turned to face Lord Black, his eyes alight with the determination of a young wizard on the brink of embracing his destiny. "I want to reach the heights of magical prowess and strength that my great-grandfather achieved. What steps must I take to realize such strength?" he inquired, his voice steady and full of resolve. Lord Black, observing the fire in Harry's eyes, replied, "You fight, Harry. You fight for all you are worth and with everything you have. Fight for the memory of your grandparents and fight for your life and your future. Fight the way your grandfather did. I believe everyone should be their own man, but if you aspire to be anyone or want someone to look up to, then look no further than your Charles. You couldn't find a better role model. He was the best man I knew and ever will know. I see him in you, Potter. Your experiences have made you a fighter. You are like him more than you know. Honor him, and your grandparents the way they deserve. But the family magic, the secrets of the Potters, are locked away from me," Harry said with a hint of frustration. "At this juncture, Harry, you don't need those books. What you need is rigorous training, guidance, and time to mature into your potential," Arcturus advised, his tone patient yet firm. "I've already begun," Harry declared, his resolve clear. He took out his training wand and proceeded to cast a series of spells: Lumos, Wingardium Leviosa, Expelliarmus, each executed flawlessly, some even silently. The room lit up with sparks of red, green, and blue, as objects floated gracefully under his command. The display culminated with a resplendent Lumos, bathing the room in light. Lord Black had seen his fair share of magic from some of the most talented wizards and witches over the years, yet what he saw from Harry was something else entirely. Considering Harry's young age, it was even more remarkable. While most kids Harry's age would be more interested in reading picture books or enjoying sweets, Harry was already showing a skill in magic that was beyond his years. What stood out to Lord Black wasn't just how accurately Harry could cast spells, it was the sheer strength and passion that seemed to fuel every move Harry made. Harry's magic felt wild and untamed, but it was obvious he was getting better at controlling it every day, showing an impressive level of skill. After Harry's impromptu demonstration, a silence settled over the room. Harry turned to Lord Black, full of anticipation, his question clear in his eager eyes. "What do you think, Grandpa? This is a result of my nearly a year's worth of hard work. Do you think that with this early start, I can be more powerful than my great-grandfather?" he asked, a blend of pride and hopeful curiosity in his voice. Lord Black took his time, watching Harry with an insightful look, before he began to speak. "Your potential is undeniable, Harry. You've got a natural talent for magic that's rare, even in our world. A talent that certainly runs in the Potter bloodline. But it's crucial to understand that the strongest wizards are often those who've been tested by real challenges. And remember, in our days it was normal for young wizards like your grandfather and I to start our magical learning early. It's a recent trend to wait until 11. So you are not too special. Arcturus paused, his gaze distant as if recalling memories from long ago. Charles, your great-grandfather, was shaped into the formidable wizard he was by his experiences in the Grindelwald War. The adversity he faced, the battles and trials, were what honed his abilities and his resolve. He continued, similarly, Fleamont, your grandfather, didn't shy away from conflict. He too faced his share of duels and skirmishes. He made a name for himself fighting dark wizards, proving his worth on the dueling stage. It was their courage, their relentless pursuit of excellence, that made them the wizards they were. His expression turned slightly somber as he mentioned James, Harry's father. James lived in a less turbulent time, initially. He and Sirius were known more for their pranks than their prowess. It was only with Voldemort's rise that James really began to show what he was capable of. But even then, he didn't have the same kind of trials that Charles or Fleamont faced. His potential, while great, was never fully realized in the same way. Harry paid close attention, soaking in every detail. He realized the importance of real challenges in shaping a wizard's strength, not just leisure or casual study. He knew he had to embrace battles and trials to truly grow. Lord Black's hand rested on Harry's shoulder, offering a mix of solemnity and warmth. Harry, you've got the potential to be an exceptional wizard. But greatness comes from more than just raw talent. It's about how you apply your skills, and how you face and overcome difficulties. Your journey is yours alone to shape. Whether you'll outshine your forebears or tread a unique path is up to you. Harry nodded, his resolve unwavering. I understand, Grandpa Arcturus. I'm ready to face whatever challenges come my way. I want to honor the legacy of my family and be a wizard they would have been proud of. A hint of a smile touched Lord Black's stern features. Very well, Harry. In that case, I extend an invitation to you. Come back to Black Castle tomorrow. It is time to commence your training, a training that will go beyond the basics you've learned so far. Harry's eyes lit up at the prospect. Training under the guidance of Lord Arcturus Black, a wizard of immense experience and knowledge, was an opportunity beyond his wildest dreams. It was a chance to grow, to learn, and to prepare for whatever the future held. I'll be here, Grandpa Arcturus. Thank you for this chance, Harry replied, his voice steady yet filled with gratitude. Good, Arcturus said with a nod. Prepare yourself, Harry. A wizard's journey is full of hurdles but also opportunities. Tomorrow marks the beginning of a new phase in your training, one that will challenge and, I hope, forge you into a wizard fitting of the Charles's legacy. Leaving the castle that evening, Harry was greeted by a sunset that painted the sky in vibrant shades of orange and purple. A sense of eagerness filled him, an eagerness to start this next chapter in his magical education. Chapter 45, A New Wand. The morning light bathed Black Castle in a golden glow, signaling the start of a day unlike any other for Harry Potter. Standing at the towering entrance, Harry was a bundle of nerves and excitement. Today marked the beginning of his training under Arcturus Black, a wizard of legendary prowess, feared by foes across the magical world. Sirius Black was there to meet him, his usual grin belying a mix of pride and playfulness. So, you're about to become Grandpa Black's pupil, Harry? It's not too late to back out. My own initiation into the Black family ways was intense, to say the least. Those were some of the toughest days of my life, Sirius shared, a mock shudder passing through him as he playfully tousled Harry's hair. But Harry wasn't deterred, responding with a quick, mischievous spell that momentarily made Sirius's hair stand up like a porcupine's quills. I'm ready for whatever he throws at me. And that includes dodging your pranks, Harry shot back, his grin wide and eyes alight with the thrill of the challenge. Sirius, never one to back down from a playful challenge, raised an eyebrow. You might want to rethink that, Harry. It's been a while since I've pulled a proper prank. You don't want to be my next target. Harry, undaunted, fired back with a laugh. Just wait until I get a real wand, not just this training one. Then we'll see who's pranking whom. You'd better watch out, Sirius. Their banter filled the grand entrance of Black Castle with laughter and light-hearted threats, setting the tone for a day that promised not only rigorous training but also the warmth of family bonds being strengthened. Their playful mood was interrupted as they reached the room where Lord Black awaited them, a grand space filled with artifacts and portraits that bore silent witness to the history of the Black family. Lord Black, unperturbed by their earlier antics, gestured towards the table. To embark on the journey ahead, you'll need a wand more suited to the rigors of advanced magic. Your training wand, though useful, will not suffice for what I intend to teach you. With a nod, he summoned Vardi, who promptly appeared bearing an elegantly crafted chest. With a flick of Vardi's hand, the chest opened, revealing a collection of wand boxes that levitated out and arranged themselves on the table. Each box was an invitation to explore the powerful lineage of the Black family through the wands they contained. Harry was taken aback. He had just been talking about getting a real wand to prank Sirius, and now the opportunity was right in front of him. Arcturus continued, his voice filled with the gravity of tradition. These wands have been held by some of the most powerful members of the Black family. Today, you'll have the chance to see if one chooses you. They're not custom-made for you, but they will serve well until it's time for you to get your own wand. Sirius couldn't resist a playful jab, picking out a wand from the Black collection. Just don't forget, at the end of the day, you're still a Potter. Harry shot back with a playful glare, but Arcturus's timely cough reminded him of the solemnity of the moment ahead. Harry approached the table filled with ancient wands, each holding stories of past wizards within the Black family lineage. The significance of selecting a wand from this collection wasn't lost on him. The first wand he picked up felt strong in his hand, but when he tried to cast the Lumos spell, nothing happened. It was as if he was holding just another piece of wood. Carefully, he placed it back into its velvet-lined box and tried another. One by one, he went through the wands, each reacting in its own way, yet none seemed to connect with him. Then, his fingers brushed against a wand made of ebony, adorned with intricate carvings that seemed to pulse with an unseen energy. When he whispered Lumos, the tip ignited with a bright light that filled the room. It was clear, this wand had chosen him. Lord Black, observing the moment, nodded with satisfaction. That wand belonged to Arcturus Black too, known for his dueling skills. It seems fitting it would choose you, Harry. Sirius, who had been watching eagerly, reminded him, take good care of it, Harry. But remember, it's just on loan. You'll get your very own wand soon enough, and when you do, this one comes back to the family. Lord Black then interjected, his tone firm yet considerate. And Harry, this wand must stay here in Black Castle. It's too dangerous for you to carry a real wand at your age, especially outside of supervised training. His concern was evident, prioritizing Harry's safety over his desire to keep the wand. Harry felt a twinge of disappointment at the restriction but understood the wisdom in Lord Black's words. The responsibility of handling such a powerful wand was immense, and he accepted the condition, promising to use the wand wisely and only within the castle's protective walls. Lord Black then suggested, spend some time getting to know your new wand. We'll start your training once you're comfortable with it. Harry and Sirius stepped outside into the expansive garden of Black Castle, leaving Lord Black to carefully return the unused wands to their respective places. In the garden, Sirius, with a hint of excitement, said, I heard you gave Grandpa quite the magical show. How about you show me what you've got? Eager to demonstrate his skills, Harry began to perform. Leaves levitated, stones danced through the air, and spells illuminated the space with vibrant colors. Watching in awe, Sirius remarked, that's quite impressive, Harry. When I was your age, I couldn't even cast a single spell. As Harry grew more comfortable wielding the wand, he noticed Sirius was completely engrossed in the spectacle. Seizing the moment, Harry quickly cast a series of spells, catching Sirius by surprise. A well-placed Mimblewimble left Sirius tongue-tied, and a swift Petrificus Totalis rendered him immobile. Harry couldn't help but laugh as he dashed off to begin his training with Lord Black, leaving a temporarily paralyzed Sirius in his wake. Sirius, unable to speak or move, could only watch as Harry disappeared from view. Harry was aware that initiating a prank war with Sirius was risky but irresistibly entertaining. Sirius, known for his own pranks, would undoubtedly see this as a declaration of war. Despite the potential for retaliation, Harry was ready for whatever playful retribution Sirius might devise. Engaging in such light-hearted mischief added a layer of excitement to Harry's days at Black Castle, a welcome distraction from the intensity of his upcoming training. Chapter 46, Celebrating New Beginnings. As Harry returned to the castle, eager to start his lessons under Lord Black's tutelage, he couldn't help but hide a mischievous grin. Arcturus, ever the discerning observer, noticed Harry's amusement but chose not to inquire further, focusing instead on the task at hand. The training sessions with Arcturus were rigorous and enlightening. Harry's spell casting, previously self-taught, was now shaped by the disciplined and strategic teachings of Lord Black. The depth of magical knowledge and combat tactics he was exposed to was unparalleled, significantly sharpening his skills. For Harry, the island and Black Castle evolved into much more than mere venues for magical training. It transformed into a sanctuary, offering him a sense of belonging and peace he hadn't experienced before. His daily routine saw him arriving at the castle early each morning, taking runs along the island's secluded beach, and then spending his afternoons immersed in the castle's vast library to deepen his knowledge of magic. The evenings were reserved for soaking in the tranquility of the island. The companionship of Sirius and Lord Black added a familial warmth to Harry's life at the castle. With them, Harry felt safe and supported, free from the fear of being sent back to the Dursleys by Dumbledore or facing danger alone. Lord Black, in particular, became a figure of mentorship and guidance, offering Harry a steadfast presence in his life. Reflecting on the safety and personal growth he attained at Black Castle, Harry chose to make it his permanent residence, moving into one of its rooms. The house atop the hill, his initial hidden home, was now repurposed into a quiet retreat for times when solitude was needed. This decision wasn't made lightly but stemmed from a genuine connection to the place and the people within it. The castle was not just a training ground but a place where he felt a profound sense of belonging. Evenings at the castle were special times of connection and learning. Harry, Sirius, and Lord Black would sit together in the study, exchanging stories and gaining insights. These gatherings were invaluable to Harry, healing his relationship with Sirius completely and returning to their familiar banter, with Harry affectionately called Pup by Sirius, and Harry calling Sirius Padfoot. The sun's rise on October 12, 1985, over Black Island marked an exceptional day for Harry Potter, his 8th birthday. Waking up within the secure walls of Black Castle, Harry was embraced by an air of peace and the exciting anticipation of celebration. The morning air on Black Island was crisp and filled with the salty tang of the sea. Harry, now well adjusted to the island's peaceful seclusion, eagerly looked forward to the day's planned festivities. The anxiety that once shadowed his days at his old, isolated home had dissipated here, leaving behind a solid sense of safety. This change in environment had not only improved Harry's mood but also marked a significant uplift in his mental state. Varday and Myra, the diligent house elves, had been at work since early morning, decorating the usually stately castle into a lively celebration scene. Banners of deep and vibrant colors adorned the walls, magical lights sparkled, mimicking the night sky, and colorful streamers danced in a magically induced breeze, showcasing their affection and effort for Harry's special day. The special guests for the day were Emma Foster and Cordelia Foley, who had played pivotal roles in Harry's new life. Sirius Black, ever the charming host, greeted them with his usual flair. "It's wonderful to have you both here for Harry's birthday." "He's been quite excited," Sirius expressed, a playful sparkle in his eye. Emma, always keen to indulge in a bit of gossip, playfully inquired about Sirius's romantic life, a topic that had become the subject of much speculation in the wizarding community. Sirius, with a mischievous smile, skillfully evaded the question, maintaining the aura of mystery. At that moment, Harry stepped into the room, his mood bright until a sudden poof sound saw his favorite outfit turn a shocking shade of pink, his hair matching. It was clear proof of Sirius's penchant for pranks, sparking a momentary annoyance in Harry. But knowing he had initiated their ongoing prank war, he couldn't really hold a grudge. With a flick of his wand, he quickly set things right, his swift counter-curse restoring his clothes and hair to their original state. The incident brought laughter from Emma and a knowing glance from Cordelia, both commending Harry on his quick fix. Despite the initial irritation, Harry's spirits were visibly high, his face breaking into a smile as he greeted his guests. Turning to Sirius, he couldn't resist hinting at retaliation. "There will be revenge," he thought, plotting a future prank to embarrass Sirius in front of his mysterious girlfriend. Harry's annoyance was tinged with playful rivalry, determined to uncover Sirius's well-guarded secret. Lord Arcturus Black soon joined them, extending a formal yet heartfelt gratitude towards Emma and Cordelia. "I can't thank you enough for your support and care towards Harry," he said, his voice carrying genuine appreciation. Arcturus and Cordelia, having known each other for years, engaged in a conversation that was deeper and more personal than their usual interactions, touching upon old memories and current affairs. Leaving Arcturus and Cordelia to their discussions, Harry eagerly led Emma on a grand tour of the castle. He was excited to share the enchanting and mysterious corners of the ancient structure with her. They meandered through the opulent hallways adorned with historical tapestries, explored rooms filled with magical artifacts, and discovered secret passageways that whispered of the castle's rich and storied past. Their journey through the castle culminated in a climb to the top of a high tower, offering a panoramic view of the island. The vast estate unfolded below them, a blend of dense woods and gleaming waters stretching out into the distance. Harry's pride and attachment to the castle and its grounds were evident in his animated descriptions and the gleam in his eyes as he spoke of its history and mysteries. As the day turned to evening, Harry guided Emma to the island's pristine beach. The setting sun cast a golden glow over the white sands and azure waters, creating a picture-perfect scene. Sirius, who had joined them, jested about Harry's claim to the island, only to be met with Harry's light-hearted retort and an affectionate threat. The beachside moment was a tranquil one, with the sound of the gentle waves and the beauty of the island reinforcing Harry's sense of belonging and contentment. The evening festivities included a cake-cutting ceremony back at the castle. The atmosphere was filled with warmth, laughter, and a sense of family. For Harry, this birthday was a stark contrast to his earlier years and a testament to the new life he had built. As the celebration came to a close and it was time for Emma and Cordelia to depart, Harry managed to persuade Emma to tutor him in potions. Aware of his complicated lineage and its potential impact on his learning at Hogwarts, Harry was keen on receiving guidance from someone as knowledgeable as Emma. The day ended on a heartwarming note. Harry's newfound happiness and sense of family were palpable as he bid farewell to his guests. As he retreated to the comfort of his room in the castle, the promise of a brighter, more fulfilling future seemed more real than ever. Harry silently pledged to safeguard this newfound family and the legacy he was set to inherit. The day's events had reinforced his connection to his past and his resolve to shape a future worthy of his ancestors' legacy. Chapter 47, A Day of Gifts and Flight. The next morning, Harry Potter woke up filled with the kind of excitement he remembered feeling the day after Christmas in his previous life. This morning was special because it was the time to open his birthday presents, a new and cherished tradition vastly different from his past birthdays. He had specifically cleared his usually packed schedule for this moment, knowing well that the joy of unwrapping gifts wasn't just for kids, adults found it thrilling too. Walking down the grand staircase of Black Castle, Harry was greeted by a sight that warmed his heart. The dining hall had been rearranged into a welcoming space, with all his birthday gifts from the day before beautifully displayed on a large table. His heart raced with anticipation as he neared the table, eager to see what his new family and friends thought to give him. The first gift he unwrapped was from Cordelia, a beautifully bound book titled Healing Spells and Potions, A Beginner's Guide. The book was an invaluable resource, filled with detailed descriptions and illustrations of various magical remedies. Harry knew this would be a crucial addition to his library, especially considering his goal of becoming a powerful wizard. Next, he moved on to the present from Lord Arcturus Black. It was a hefty tome on dueling, mastering the art of magical combat. Harry was immediately drawn to its contents, which ranged from the fundamentals of dueling stances to complex spell work. He sensed this book would become a cornerstone of his training with Lord Black, pushing him further on his path to becoming a formidable wizard. Emma's gift brought a lightness to the morning's proceedings. It was a travel guide, magical destinations, wonders of the wizarding world, brimming with vibrant pictures and captivating descriptions of magical places. Harry smiled, picturing the adventures he and Emma could embark on, exploring the hidden wonders of their world. Sirius's gift, a surprise that truly delighted Harry, was the last to be unwrapped. Encased in shiny paper was a Comet 220 broomstick, renowned for its speed and agility, a marvel in the world of Quidditch. The Nimbus series, which would eventually overshadow the Comet's reputation, hadn't yet made its debut, leaving the Comet 220 at the pinnacle of broom technology for the moment. As Harry unveiled the broomstick, Sirius's smile was infectious, his eyes shining with a mixture of pride and a touch of remorse for the birthdays he had missed. "This is to make up for all the birthdays I missed, Harry," Sirius said, his voice tinged with both joy and a hint of regret for the lost years. Harry couldn't contain his excitement. The thought of flying, of feeling the air rush past him as he soared above the ground, filled him with an indescribable joy. Without a moment's hesitation, he rushed outside, the Comet 220 in hand, eager to test its capabilities in the open expanse of the island. The island's landscape, with its vast fields and stunning vistas, provided the perfect backdrop for Harry's maiden flight. The moment his feet left the ground, he felt an innate sense of belonging in the air, as if flying was a long-lost skill he had just rediscovered. The broom responded to his every command with precision, its speed exhilarating, its agility unmatched. From above, the island's beauty was magnified, a patchwork of greens and blues stretching out beneath him. Sirius, observing from below, was thoroughly impressed by Harry's natural talent. Despite it being Harry's first time on a broom, his control and confidence were exceptional, a testament to the innate flying prowess that ran in the Potter bloodline. Harry's ability to handle the broom, to dive and weave with such skill, was a sight to behold, especially for someone so young. "Looks like you're a natural, Harry," Sirius shouted up to him, his voice carrying a mixture of astonishment and pride. Harry responded with a whoop of joy, zooming around the island, and exploring its boundaries from the sky. The feeling of flying on the broom was liberating, a welcome escape from the rigorous schedule of training and studies. Deciding to carve out some time in his busy routine for flying, Harry made a mental note to practice regularly. It was not just for the thrill of it, but also to hone his skills in aerial movement, which could be an advantage in future duels or battles. Landing smoothly back on the castle grounds, Harry's cheeks were aglow with the excitement of his aerial adventure, his eyes shining with the promise of many more flights to come. Sirius greeted him with enthusiastic applause, visibly impressed by Harry's natural affinity for flying. "You're going to be a force to be reckoned with at Hogwarts, Harry." On the ground and in the air, Sirius said, his tone a mix of pride and playful envy. "With your talent, I bet you could end Quidditch matches in record time as a seeker. And with your build, you'd excel as a chaser too. Honestly, you're cut out for any position on the team." Listening to Sirius, Harry started thinking about Quidditch. He always thought the game's rules were a bit strange. For example, a chaser needs to score a lot to get points, but a seeker can just catch the snitch and win, even if their team is losing badly. It seemed a bit unfair to Harry, especially if one team had a really good seeker. Despite his initial reservations about participating in Quidditch at Hogwarts, owing to its potential to eat into his study time, Harry recognized the opportunity it presented. In the wizarding world, Quidditch stars were akin to celebrities, revered and celebrated far and wide. Realizing this could be a pathway to the fame and respect he aspired for, Harry began to see Quidditch in a new light. With a newfound resolve, Harry decided he would give Quidditch a try at Hogwarts, aiming for the role of Seeker. Given the Seeker's relatively solitary role in the game, he figured he didn't have to spend as much time practicing with the team. After making up his mind about trying out for Quidditch, Harry put away his birthday presents. He was looking forward to flying again soon because he really enjoyed it. As the day progressed, Harry found himself returning to the skies several times, each flight bringing the same sense of freedom and exhilaration. With each swoop and dive, he felt his worries and stresses melt away, replaced by a sense of peace and contentment. The day of his birthday may have passed, but the gifts he received, both tangible and intangible, continued to enrich his life, giving him tools, skills, and experiences that would shape his future in the magical world. Comment. For comment. Vote. Chapter 48, Chapter 48, Growth and Traditions. The days at Black Castle were filled with a new routine, one that balanced the rigors of training with the warmth of familial bonds. Harry Potter, now more settled into his life at the castle, began to take a more active role in the well-being of his newfound family, particularly Lord Arcturus Black. Harry decided that one of the first things he wanted to do was make sure Grandpa Arcturus got a complete health checkup. At first, Lord Black didn't want to do it, but Harry and Sirius talked him into it. Harry remembered from his memories of past life that Lord Black would pass away around the time Canon Harry or Charles would be starting their first year at Hogwarts. Harry didn't want this to happen and was set on making sure Lord Black would live much longer than the stories said he would. The examination day arrived, and Cordelia Fawley, the renowned healer, arrived at the castle with her assistant Emma. Harry and Sirius watched with a mix of apprehension and hope as Cordelia conducted a series of magical diagnostics on Arcturus. The examination shed light on several old injuries that Lord Black had sustained in battles long past, injuries that had been neglected and now posed a risk to his well-being. Additionally, the checkup uncovered the typical signs of aging that had begun to take their toll on him. Cordelia, ever efficient, quickly laid out a plan aimed at healing these old wounds and rejuvenating Lord Black. Her approach was meticulous and grounded in her extensive experience in the magical world. Emma contributed with innovative suggestions inspired by Muggle medicine. She introduced a lifestyle plan that included specific exercises and a dietary regimen designed to improve Lord Black's overall health. These recommendations were based on successful outcomes she had witnessed in similar cases, blending the best of both worlds for Lord Black's benefit. Harry was really impressed with Emma. After giving her a basic rundown on healthy living and exercise, Emma took it to the next level all on her own. She even braved the Muggle world to hit the London Library for more in-depth research. But that's not all that changed for Emma. During one of her library visits, she bumped into a wizard named David Archer. David was a half-blood wizard who loved teaching so much he got his A-levels and became a teacher in the Muggle world because there weren't many teaching jobs in the wizarding world. He was a rare wizard who chose a Muggle career over magic just to follow his passion. Emma and David grew close, thanks to his help in getting her research materials. Harry, wanting to make sure David was all right for Emma, asked Lord Black to look into David's background. After finding out David was just a genuinely nice guy who was passionate about teaching, Harry didn't worry about their relationship anymore. After all, Emma was an adult and free to make her own choices, and Harry thought David seemed like a good match. Initially, Lord Black was hesitant about getting a health checkup and changing his lifestyle, but he came around because of how much Harry and Sirius cared about him. Myra, the ever-diligent house elf, volunteered to prepare the healthy meals prescribed in the diet plan. She had been experimenting with Muggle cooking and was excited to put her new skills to use, making healthy meals that were tasty too. As the weeks passed, a noticeable improvement in Arcturus's health and vitality became apparent. The atmosphere in the castle, once tinged with the solemnity befitting the ancient Black family, now carried a lighter, more hopeful air. The arrival of Hallows Eve marked another important tradition for Harry. Accompanied by Sirius, he visited the graves of his grandparents to pay respects and recount the events of the past year. It was a time of reflection and connection, a moment to share his accomplishments and experiences with those who, although gone, still held a significant place in his heart. Harry talked about his new family at Black Castle, his progress in training, and his hopes for the future, feeling a sense of peace as he spoke. This ritual, which began last year, had quickly become a meaningful annual event for Harry, allowing him to honor his heritage and look forward to what's next. Returning to the rhythm of his daily life, Harry kept up with his diverse training. His days were a mix of physical exercises, martial arts training, magical studies, and gym sessions. His goal was ambitious yet attainable, to complete his studies up to OWL level before even setting foot in Hogwarts. For Harry, this wasn't just about getting ahead academically, it was about being ready for any challenge that Hogwarts might throw at him. Apart from his rigorous training schedule, Harry made time for weekly potions classes with Emma. Their sessions were not just educational but also a continuation of their explorations of the Muggle world. Their outings, although less frequent, remained a source of joy and adventure for both. When David joined them, Harry sometimes felt out of place and often found reasons to skip those outings. Harry's life had found a new equilibrium, one where discipline and learning were balanced with love, care, and the occasional adventure. Surrounded by family and friends who cared for him deeply, Harry's 8th year marked a period of significant personal growth and happiness. As he lay in bed each night, looking out at the starlit sky from his room in Black Castle, Harry felt a profound sense of gratitude. He was no longer alone. He was Harry Potter, a young wizard with a bright future, a loving family, and a legacy to uphold. Chapter 49, The Legacy of Walburga Black. A few weeks after Harry's 8th birthday, a surprising event occurred at Black Castle. While looking through his letters one morning, came across a letter bearing news that would significantly impact the Black family. It was the news of Walburga Black's passing. Lord Black read the letter without showing much emotion, something he had become very good at over the years. Sirius Black, who was enjoying a leisurely breakfast, noticed the change in Lord Black's demeanor. "Something the matter, grandfather?" he inquired, his tone casual yet curious. Arcturus looked up from the letter, weighing his words carefully. "Sirius, your mother, Walburga Black, has passed away," he announced, his voice steady. Sirius's reaction was instantaneous and, to some, might have seemed inappropriate. A wide grin spread across his face, and a chuckle escaped his lips. "About time the old hag left this world," he exclaimed, unable to hide his relief. Even though Lord Arcturus understood why Sirius felt this way, he reminded him to be respectful. "She was still your mother, Sirius. No matter what happened between you two, we should act properly when someone passes away," he chided, his voice firm yet not unkind. Sirius's smile faded slightly, a sign of respect for Lord Black's words, though the glint of satisfaction in his eyes remained. Harry, present during this exchange, felt detached from the situation. He only knew about Walburga Black from the loud portrait at Grimmauld Place, and he didn't have a good impression of her. Since Sirius didn't like her, Harry didn't think he should get involved either. After Walburga passed away, the Black family decided to meet up, something they hadn't done in a long time because they often disagreed with each other. They needed to plan her funeral. Sirius didn't really care about what was going on and let the other family members handle everything. Harry thought it was best to stay out of the way because the Black family had a lot of issues. He went back to his secret home so he wouldn't have to be part of the family meeting. He also didn't want the rest of the Black family to find out he, a Potter and the brother of the boy who lived, was close to Lord Black. Upon Harry's return to the castle a few days later, he walked into a serious conversation between Arcturus and Sirius. They were sorting through what Walburga Black's passing meant in terms of legal stuff and who would get her things. Walburga did not leave a will, so all her property, including the family townhouse in London and the house elf Creaker, now belongs to you, Sirius, Lord Black informed. This news caught Sirius off guard. But she took my name off the family tree, he remembered, thinking that meant he was out of the picture. Arcturus corrected him, that was all for show, Sirius. She only took your name off a decorative tree, not the real family records here in the castle. By law, you're still the person she left everything to. Sirius, torn between his disdain for his mother and the practical implications, was initially set on renouncing his inheritance. However, the possibility of Narcissa Malfoy, and by extension, Lucius, benefiting from his decision led him to reconsider. Harry, who had been quietly listening, chimed in with a suggestion. Why not look at it as a sort of payback, Sirius? You could redo the house, get rid of anything that reminds you of her, and really make it your own place. Sirius liked Harry's idea of making over the London house in a completely new style. Turning the house into a modern, Muggle-style abode appealed to Sirius. It would be a fitting act of rebellion against the traditional values his mother had so vehemently upheld. With their minds made up, Sirius and Arcturus went to Gringotts to make sure everything was official. Narcissa Malfoy tried to argue she should get something, but it didn't go anywhere. Sirius was confirmed as the rightful owner of all his mother's things, including the house. The next morning was filled with a kind of nervous excitement. Harry, Sirius, and Lord Arcturus were all set to go check out the Black family's old London house. With a crack that broke the morning silence, they apparat directly in front of the imposing entrance of number 12, Grimmauld Place. The house stood hidden from Muggles' eyes by ancient magics, its facade a silent testament to the Black family's storied past and dark secrets. The house itself was squeezed into a row of tall, intimidating buildings. It looked pretty run down from the outside, with windows that were too dark to see through and paint that was chipping away. The whole vibe of the place was pretty unwelcoming. In contrast to the magical unveiling of number 12, Grimmauld Place shown in the Harry Potter books and movies, the house wasn't concealed by the Fidelius charm. Instead, it was fully visible to any wizard who passed by. However, it was still safeguarded by old Black family spells, warning off any unwelcome visitors. When they walked up to the door, they didn't have any trouble getting in. The house had a special charm that only let people who were part of the Black family or had Black family blood, come inside. Since Harry's great-grandmother was Black, he didn't have any problems entering. The moment Sirius opened the door, the quiet of the interior was shattered. He accidentally knocked over an umbrella stand, causing a loud noise. Right away, the sharp voice of Walburga Black, Sirius's mother, filled the room, angrily shouting about intruders. Who is there? This is the Black family home. Get out. No half-bloods, Muggleborns, or blood traders allowed. Creaker. Where are you? Get these intruders out. Hearing his mother's voice, Sirius was both annoyed and angry. He couldn't understand why he could still hear her, given she had passed away. As he moved forward, he came face to face with his mother's portrait. Walburga, looking furious in the portrait, yelled, "So, it's you, the family disappointment. How dare you step foot in here? You should have died rather than come back. How dare you, you disgrace, show your face here. If only my dear Regulus were still alive. He always made me proud." "Stop!" Sirius yelled, and to his surprise, his mother's portrait fell silent. But it wasn't Sirius's command that stopped her, it was Lord Arcturus Black's appearance that quieted her. She stopped her rant, clearly afraid of Arcturus. With disappointment in his voice, Arcturus spoke to the portrait, "This is why the house is in such a state. You wasted the money meant for its maintenance on this nonsense. Now it's clear where the money went." Harry, standing behind Arcturus, looked at Walburga Black's portrait. The screeching voice was even more unbearable in person than he had imagined, making it clear why Sirius had been so eager to leave this place behind. With Walburga's portrait now silent thanks to Lord Black's presence, they decided it was time to get some answers from Creaker. The old house elf appeared with a pop, looking rather unhappy about serving Sirius, whom he called a blood traitor. Creaker. Shut up and answer Lord Black's questions truthfully, Sirius said, clearly running out of patience. Creaker, though grumbling under his breath, revealed how Walburga had spent her last days. She was consumed by her grief for Regulus and her anger towards Sirius. She feared that after her death, the house would fall into hands that didn't align with her pure-blood ideals. That's why she went to such lengths with her portrait, ensuring it would remain a permanent fixture to drive away anyone she disapproved of. She focused so much on this that she neglected the house's upkeep, leading to its current state. The house, once majestic, was now in ruins, except for the magically guarded library. Sirius, determined to erase the house's grim past, planned a major overhaul. But first, he wanted to assess the full extent of its condition. As they walked through the house, Harry was surprised by its size. Despite its modest exterior, the inside was vast, filled with neglected rooms and infested with pests, thanks to magical expansion. As they explored further, they discovered a room in immaculate condition, untouched by the decay that gripped the rest of the house. Curious about this anomaly, Sirius summoned Creaker once more for an explanation. Harry had a hunch about what they would find next. He suspected this well-preserved room belonged to Regulus Black. Given that both Arcturus and Sirius were present and in their right minds, it seemed inevitable that Regulus's secret would soon come to light. Chapter 50, The Tale of Regulus and Creaker. Standing in front of Regulus Black's room, the only maintained room in the whole building, Sirius called Creaker. Creaker appeared, looking unwilling, and stood before them, mumbling under his breath. Creaker, whose room is this, and why is it in such good condition? Sirius asked. This belongs to Master Regulus, Creaker replied, then began to cry softly. Arcturus then spoke up, I always wondered what happened to Regulus, Creaker. I tried investigating the events but the only thing I got to know is that something happened which led to Regulus betraying Voldemort and you were involved somehow. Creaker, tell me everything. Creaker remained silent, prompting Sirius to plead, Creaker, I need to know. Regulus. I've missed him. After I left, my mother cut off all contact between Regulus and me. I heard he joined the Death Eaters and later had a change of heart. But now, there's talk that there's more to the story. Creaker, please, for Regulus's sake, tell us what happened. Harry watched quietly, knowing what Creaker was about to say would change everything. He knew this story was important, it showed courage and sacrifice in the fight against Voldemort. Yet, telling it would bring up the secret of Voldemort's horcruxes, leading him into unknown territory. Harry worried about how revealing this might change future events in ways he couldn't predict. Ultimately, Harry chose not to interfere. Given the circumstances, he recognized there was no stopping the revelation from unfolding. He understood that Sirius and Arcturus needed to hear Creaker's story about Regulus. This truth was essential for them to grasp the full extent of Regulus's actions. Harry figured that knowing this could help them close a painful chapter and maybe even prepare for what was coming. Over time, Harry's fear of Voldemort had lessened, especially when he thought about the history of the wizarding world. The conflict led by Voldemort paled in comparison to the cataclysmic war waged by Grindelwald, a war in which Harry's own great-grandfather, Charles Potter, had been a formidable participant. The scope of Grindelwald's war had spanned continents, dwarfing the relatively insular strife Voldemort had ignited within Britain. After seeing the old battles in Arcturus's memories through a pensieve, Harry had started to see things differently. The duels he had seen, particularly one where his great-grandfather clashed with Grindelwald, were of a magnitude far surpassing anything documented in recent history. These fights were much bigger and more dangerous than any fight Harry had known or read about, including those involving Voldemort and Dumbledore. This made Harry feel stronger and more focused. He wanted to do more than just beat Voldemort, he wanted to be even braver and stronger than his great-grandfather. To Harry, Voldemort was just one challenge he needed to overcome on his way to becoming the best wizard ever. This determination steeled him against the uncertainty of the future. He knew things might change because of what was happening now, but he was prepared. As long as he kept those changes small, he believed he still had an edge over Voldemort. Plus, he was comforted by the fact that Voldemort couldn't make any more horcruxes. Creaker, now compelled by Sirius's plea, began his tale with a heavy heart. Master Regulus was always the pride of the Black family, embracing his pure-blood heritage with zeal. He spoke often of the Dark Lord's vision, a world ruled by pure-blood wizards. At 16, he joined the Dark Lord, a decision that filled him with pride and purpose. But within a year, everything changed. Master Regulus volunteered Kriaker for a task demanded by the Dark Lord himself, a task that would unveil the true horror behind the Dark Lord's secret of immortality. The elf recounted the harrowing journey to a hidden cave, where a basin filled with potion awaited. The Dark Lord forced Kriaker to drink the potion. Kriaker's voice broke, tears streaming down his face. It showed Kriaker horrors, burned him from within. And then, he left Kriaker there, with the locket in the basin. Kriaker's tale grew more desperate as he described the excruciating pain, the overwhelming thirst that led him to the water's edge, and the dead hands that pulled him beneath the lake's surface. "How did you escape?" Sirius whispered, dread filling the silence that followed. Master Regulus commanded Kriaker to return home. Kriaker looked up, his eyes meeting Sirius's. Harry and others in the room understood that the cave was not warded against elf travel. So Kriaker was able to easily escape when Regulus called him. In the somber quiet of Regulus Black's room, a pall of tension and anticipation hung heavily as Sirius, with a newfound understanding and concern in his voice, pressed Kriaker for more of the story. "So what happened when you got back?" he asked, his tone imbued with a mixture of curiosity and dread. "What did Regulus say when you told him what happened?" Kriaker, the old elf, trembled under the weight of his memories, his voice breaking as he recounted the events. "Master Regulus was very worried, he said, his usual grumble softened by the tears that streaked down his face. He told Kriaker to stay hidden and not to leave the house. Then, one night, he came to Kriaker, his mind troubled, not himself. He asked Kriaker to take him to the cave, the same cave Kriaker had visited with the Dark Lord. Harry, Sirius, and Arcturus listened intently, picturing the scene in their minds, the young Regulus, so similar in appearance to Sirius yet carrying a burden too heavy for his years, setting off with Kriaker to confront a darkness beyond imagination. Kriaker continued, the sorrow in his voice deepening. Master Regulus took a locket from his pocket, similar to the one the Dark Lord had, and instructed Kriaker to switch them once the basin was empty. The elf's sobs grew louder, his grief palpable in the silent room. Sirius's perception of his brother transformed as he listened. Regulus, the brother he had thought aligned with the darkest of wizards, had in fact rebelled against Voldemort with a bravery and love for Kriaker that was unheard of in their family. Regulus had chosen to drink the potion himself, sparing Kriaker the torment, and met his end with courage that left Sirius and even the stoic Arcturus with tears in their eyes. "So you brought the locket home?" Sirius managed to ask through his emotions. "And tried to destroy it?" Kriaker nodded, his misery echoed in his words. "Nothing worked. Kriaker tried everything, but the locket remained unscathed, its secrets locked away. Kriaker failed to obey Master Regulus's last order," he lamented, overwhelmed by his perceived failure and the grief that had consumed the Black household following Regulus's disappearance. The room fell silent as Kriaker's sobs filled the space, a testament to the tragedy of Regulus's untimely demise and the weight of the secret he carried to his grave. Reflecting on the gravity of his brother's actions, Sirius voiced a question that lingered in the air: what was so important about the locket that Regulus gave his life to destroy it? Arcturus, his mind racing with implications, responded gravely, "If my suspicions are correct, we may have uncovered the reason behind Voldemort's claims of immortality." Regulus's final act was one of unparalleled bravery, a true Lord Black, facing the darkness with courage and resolve. Turning to Kriaker, Arcturus commanded, "Bring the locket to me. It's time we complete Regulus's last mission." As Kriaker scurried away to retrieve the locket, the room was filled with a sense of purpose. Regulus's sacrifice had not been in vain, his actions had set his family on a path to confronting a darkness that threatened their world.
Thanks for listening.